From around the world on Google Plus and YouTube Live, it's Google Plus Week. Google's Vice President Bradley Horowitz slams Facebook over its ads. Blogger gets better integration with Google Plus, but Allen says we need more. An Australian court says Google is a publisher and must pay for defamation. And investigators are using Facebook posts to make arrests. Google Plus Week Live starts right now. And welcome. I'm Dan McDermott. Glad to have you with us. We're broadcasting live on YouTube and on Google+. We'll be monitoring your questions and comments as we go, so we hope you'll keep them coming as usual. First, let me go to Mr. Alan Furstenberg in New York. Alan, welcome, sir.
Dan, always great to be here. Even before we begin, I want to mention we've got this great comment following up from last week. Here's Kevin saying, Dan, welcome to Google Plus Week, where? Storm transmission interruption.
You know,
so it's good to have you back this week, Dan.
It was pretty dramatic. I lost power, and Alan, being the trooper that he is, took over and did a great show, which I'm halfway through watching. So I didn't get my fix. But anyway, there was some drama this week on Google+. I guess Bradley Horowitz, one of the vice presidents, had some things to say about Facebook. And why don't you tell us about that and tell us not everyone agreed.
I would say not everyone agreed. It was very interesting. He was at Business Insider, and if you haven't seen the entire segment, it's up there, the entire interview video. He said quite a lot of things, but pretty much what it kind of boiled down to, fundamentally, was that that Google sees Google Plus not as an advertising platform, and Facebook does see Facebook as an advertising platform. And he kind of said that he kind of made a couple of knocks at Facebook, basically saying, you know, if you're having a personal conversation with someone, if you've got what he referred to as an intimate moment, you don't want somebody with an advertising billboard to stand in between you. And I don't know, it's interesting. It was a couple of nice digs in there.
So I guess Robert Scoble weighed in on this, and I think his post said something like Google execs should shut up and fix Facebook or something. I forget.
Well, shut up and fix Google Plus.
Right, obviously.
And he made some compelling points. I mean, he said, you know, Facebook isn't always as bad as as people make it out to be, and Google's got some serious problems, and these are serious problems that have existed for months now. And Google continues to either be silent about them at the least, ignore them at the worst. And, it's great. It's wonderful to see these nice little digs at Facebook. I think we can all, everyone on Google Plus got a nice chuckle out of it. But, Scoble makes a very compelling argument that there are problems here, and Google needs to fix those problems already.
But does that mean he can't make a comment? Just a comment about something? Does that mean he's so busy making a comment that he's not fixing stuff?
Well, but here's the thing, Ronnie. Here's the thing, Ronnie. Back when we interviewed Vic Gundotra for this show, I asked him the question, how do you answer people that say Google Plus has a perception problem? And his reply was basically, I'm not worrying about what people think. I'm worrying and focused on delivering a good quality product. Go ahead and look it up. That's what he said.
Okay.
And here's Bradley doing just the opposite.
No,
but wait a minute.
Bradley's knocking the competition. It doesn't mean he's not busy working on fixing Google Plus.
Well, go ahead, Monica.
I want to bring up another point here, and that is Facebook's new strategy that they have started taking with their promoted posts. Not only are they taking money from advertisers, but now they're taking money from users to basically do what they've said they've been doing all along, is to promote the important stuff in your feed. And so I think that Bradley Horowitz has a very valid point, that Facebook has sunk to a really new low in advertising because they're basically taking money for doing what they should be doing all along.
I'd like to chime in here too, Alan.
Go ahead.
the tenor of Bradley's remarks, I thought, was a little debasing for Google. I want the executives to be highly professional and enthusiastic about what they do, but I don't want them to demonstrate how great their product is by running down their competitor. I grew up in an IBM world, and we were raised
Michael, I agree 100% with what you said, and what's I think even more important is if this was a football game, Google's not even in the game.
Yeah,
they didn't even show up. They didn't even show up to the stadium, and now they're talking about the team that won the game and running them down. They better get in the game before they even start talking about Facebook. I mean,
perhaps they feel they are in the game.
They can't even carry Facebook's
What game are we
order at
talking
this point.
about? Craig, what game are we talking about?
Social networks.
You don't think they're into social networks?
You don't think Google Plus is a social network?
It's not even on most people's radar screen. They're not even a blip on the radar screen.
If Google Plus was not in the game, you wouldn't be here, and you wouldn't have no.
I'm here, but I'm sorry, Anthony. None of my friends are here except
Does that
the
matter?
people that I've met.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, you guys.
Does that
That's
matter?
not true. I see people using Google Plus more and more all the time.
Sure.
And I actually have test circles of people that I have not seen using Google Plus from the start, and I see them becoming more active.
Yeah.
And I actually,
new wave
since
of them.
they've started changing things, they've changed the way that the What's Hot list works, and they've changed the way that, like I used to rock that list all the time. They changed the way it works, and they changed the way that What's Hot works, and it now it works in a different way. What's Hot and Recommended works so that it's specialized to you. And since they changed that, it's a lot easier for people with fewer followers to see stuff they like. I can't tell you exactly how. I just know it's different.
But getting back to the Bradley Horowitz, comment, I mean, he has a right to say what he feels. So if he has a right to do that, right? And he's building up interest, and that's just part of his job. So why not? Now, yes, they have to fix things, but they can't. They can't. They can do two things at the same time.
He has the right to say anything he wants, but
exactly.
I wouldn't give it any weight whatsoever, because until they start really competing with Facebook, and again, I don't think they are at this point, until they really start doing that and really get in the game,
what's it matter then?
They don't have anything to talk about.
They can say whatever they want. The key is they're saying that we're not going to put ads in Google Plus, and they've been saying that since day one.
Exactly.
This is just verification of it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
Craig, I think the problem though is you're going on the same assumption that a lot of people seem to be going on, and that's that Google Plus and Facebook are playing the same game, and they're not.
True.
Obviously, they're not.
Right, and so
in my mind, they're not. And
little expression of you're using it wrong, that thing, whether you like it or not, it's still the reality. If people come to Google Plus with the idea that they're trying to find out what's important, they know what they're looking for, they will find people. If they're looking for their friends, who's important, they're not going to find them.
Google Plus is sort of like Netflix, in that if you go to Netflix and you look at the movies that are there and you pick from them, you're going to be happy. But if you go to Netflix and you put in the search engine the name of a movie and try to find it, you're going to be unhappy. It's
not
the
true.
same thing here. If you go to Google Plus and you try to search for your real life friends,
no, see, there's the key. There's the key. That's the difference. You're not using it right. If you use it that way, you search for what.
That's correct.
You search for what
Ronnie,
you're looking for.
Here's my problem. I disagree with that.
You did?
I
disagree
disagree with that on two fronts. The first is I don't, Google likes saying that. The problem is I don't think they're doing anything to actually encourage that. They're still pushing the you're looking for people who know something
they advertise
rather than you know something. No. This is even what they say. And
I know they advertise it all wrong. We've talked about that for months and months and months.
Well, but they even say Google is Google Plus is about finding the things you're interested in. But then they don't actually do anything to encourage that.
Leave it to us.
Well, they don't even encourage that. I mean, you know, they give us a suggested user list, which is incredibly bad at doing that. You know, this what's hot and recommended, if they've actually changed it, maybe that's one tiny small step towards that. But, you know, we have pages that are utterly useless on that front. We've got poor integration with search. You know,
Yep. He's absolutely
Well,
right.
I agree on the pages are useless. They're absolutely
Come on.
useless.
Google is a search engine, #1 search engine. And you know what? They suck at search on their social network.
You're exactly right, Pam.
Why do you guys say that?
Yeah, I
Because
don't
if
see
you
that.
search for something, let's say search for let me see, Santa. I was trying to think of a safe topic to search for on Google Plus, and then you want to see the Santa post that flew by in your stream yesterday. They have these drop-down options, and you're getting stuff from all over the web, and it takes you like 20 minutes to find it. It's stupid.
Maybe I know search too well, but it seems to work fine for me.
Then you need to do another class on that because it's terrible.
Yeah, if somebody is really good and can really troubleshoot and can really work their way around barriers and so forth, Google Plus is great. It's great for that person. But for the average user who can't get through all the minefields and all the hurdles and so forth, it's great for doing Hangouts like we're doing now. I encourage people to do it. But for anything else, it's pretty close to useless.
No, I totally disagree, but that's just...
I disagree with pretty
I
close to
disagree.
useless,
And I'll
Yeah.
tell you something else. A lot of people that you don't realize are here, but they're watching posts. They're just not participating. There are tons and tons of people who watch your post, but they just don't participate.
It's part of a
or share
discovery
stuff.
process too, you know. It's just part of that discovery process. So
And
as they put more devices out there, and the Nexus 10, Nexus 7, Google Play, it's all going to. It's part of the discovery. It's
Don't
part
get
of
me
it.
started again
my-
about Google Play. Don't get me started again about Google Play. How they screw that up.
Monica makes a fairly decent point in that some of these people are just not communicating, but they're watching.
Sure.
And if you go to Facebook, and obviously this is my use case scenario, but I'm just seeing a couple of people that are popping up on my stream all the time, even though I have like 100 friends. I keep it fairly low, but I'm only seeing like 5 or 10 people that are showing up every week. So obviously 100 of my friends are not actively communicating. Like 10 or 15, maybe 20 are. So if you use the same example with Google Plus, just because you're not seeing them interact doesn't mean that they're not interacting in a silent way.
I think we got to close this topic. The main thing is that Facebook has to make money off Facebook. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And Google can have a money-sucking hole for a while because they make their money from ads on search. And, that's kind of the deal. So Facebook has this tremendous pressure to boost their revenue because their stock, is still, I mean, it's fluctuated. They've had good days and bad days. But it's still,
Never had as
it's
good
in
a
the
day as
tank.
the first day, though.
Say again, Michael?
They've never had as good a day as the first day.
Correct. They've gone up and down, but they're way down, from their launch. Final thoughts, Craig?
Yeah, it really is less different than you think. All it is that Facebook, everything's combined together. In other words, their search engine and their social and everything is all combined together. Google is still making money on search, and they just haven't finished yet combining everything together. So eventually everything's going to be intertwined and all combined together so that it's just another feature of Google. And the main place they make money is on search, but I'm sure they'd like to have some other revenue streams down the road because search is going to be a real problem for them.
And Craig, real quick question: is there any truth to the rumors that Google's buying ChooseSarasota.com? Is there any? There's some rumors floating around.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to confirm that, but I am at an undisclosed location. I
Or
can't
deny it, right? You can't deny it either.
No, they're going to. Google's going to come out with Sarasota now.
Actually, I emphatically deny those rumors.
Okay, that sounds serious. Okay, so coming up next, we're going to go to Ronnie Bincer, I guess. YouTube has some maintenance coming up next week, and they're rolling out some new features. So why don't you tell us what that's about, Ronnie?
Yeah, I'll start with the warning, and then we'll go into some of the details. The warning is on the 3rd of December, 2012, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time till midnight. If you're trying to do Hangouts on air, they won't work. So you don't want to schedule during that time because there's certain parts of YouTube that are going to be down for maintenance reasons.
Okay.
And whenever they do this, a lot of stuff tends to start popping up. And this is just a guess, okay? I don't work for YouTube. I just happen to do a lot with video. And so I watch this very closely. So generally, whenever there's a scheduled system maintenance, they've got all their little goodies that they've been testing and getting ready to go. They put them into place during that time, and then they let it come up and percolate up to the top where people start to see the results of the changes. So this time, they actually sort of announced, which they rarely do, what seems to be coming up. And this was in a post that they published on the 28th. And I'm just going to sort of read through the list, and we can talk about some of them as they go by. One of them, the very first thing, is what's called off-site annotations to associated websites. And what that means is I can stick a little annotation link, like a little button almost, on top of my video that I can program such a way that I click on a box that says make it a link, and that link, when people click on that annotation link, will jump them not to just another YouTube video, which has been around for years, not to just Google Plus, which has been around for months, but you can actually now jump right onto your own website, which is huge. It's a game changer, massively changing.
That's exciting.
And so,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, then you could point over here and say, click there to get the thing I'm talking about.
Right.
You know, get this cool green hat. Go ahead and click there.
Yeah.
And then later you go back, you add a little spotlight around the area, and you type in what your URL link is. It goes right to that green hat page, and that's really pretty cool.
So online QVC, huh? YouTube QVC. Buy this item.
Yeah. So some of the caveats or some of the things you have to be concerned with is you have to basically prove that you own that website, right? You can't just link to somebody's website. It's got to be yours. So there's things in place. You have to sign off on a document saying I'm not going to just redirect to the spam site. You also have to, basically you do a little bit of verification to get that all ready to go. It remains to be seen how many people will do it, but if I were advising, which I do that for some of my clients, everybody should be all over this thing.
Oh, yeah.
One of the key components for marketing with video is to get people to go to your site. And so this is going to be point and click. I mean, that's as simple as you can get.
Ronnie, these are still do not follow links, right? So they don't help you with SEO. Is that correct?
Right. They're not going to help you with SEO, but if ultimately your goal is to get people to your site, this is just a phenomenal way to get people to come to your site.
Sure.
So
Alan,
then you can promote the video. I'm sorry, Dan. Pardon me.
That's okay. Go ahead, Michael.
So you can use the video then that you create a video on YouTube. In my use case with the fraternity, we'll create educational videos that then can direct an undergraduate to more resources, more written resources, documents and PowerPoints and things like that.
Right. And like the beauty, what I didn't know because they didn't publicize this till, just now, that you could actually link to any page on your website. I had this eerie feeling that if they did it, they were only going to let you link to the homepage, and then you'd have to help guide people. But you can actually type in a full deep link URL that goes right to a specific page and based on the topic that you're talking about, which is phenomenal.
Now, we were discussing before the show, Ronnie, you cannot use your Google Plus profile as the site associated, or you can?
Right, because you don't own Google Plus. It's only the website that you own.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now you can do links that go from a video just like this that'll go to your profile. And later on the list, we're going to talk about going to your page. If it's not on the list, I'll bring it up anyways. But to your profile on Google+, that's been out for, I don't know, a month by now. That's old news, right?
So it's nothing you couldn't put in the comment field, of course. You can still put anything, any link to any site.
Yes, in the description area.
But this is all about in the video.
This is actually on the video. And there's a big difference between getting somebody to open up the description field and read it and look for a link and click on it versus in the video saying, hey, go click on that thing over there. And then later you put the little thing on there, which is an annotation, and they click on it.
Now, Ronnie, Ronnie, couldn't you do clickable annotations in the past?
Yes, but never to your website. Never off of YouTube.
Just to
So
another
it only could go to YouTube. So it could only like go to your YouTube profile.
It started just with YouTube. Then they brought in what are called non-profits, and then some fundraising sites, and then eventually they brought in you can link to your profile in Google Plus, and now they're bringing you can actually link to your own website.
You still can't do a Google Plus page, though.
Not yet, but that's on the list coming up.
And this is great, but I would really like to see when Google rolls things out like this, to just go all the way and just let us link to whatever website we want, because they can always shut down our channel if we abuse their terms of service. We'd have to agree to certain terms of service, and I have no problem with that. And then as long as we appropriately link to websites we refer to or whatever, it would make it a very powerful tool. And if they really do want to take on the likes of Facebook and so forth, in my opinion, they need to really push the envelope and really go for it and give us all of these tools.
In my opinion, this is already really going for it. This is phenomenal. I've never expected this to ever happen.
I agree.
I agree with you. I agree with you. This is huge. It's great.
It is great. I'm just saying, I mean, imagine if they just let you link anywhere.
So don't you think there's more YouTube users than Facebook users?
Yes.
Totally. Yeah. So yeah. So
the difference is that with Facebook, people interact there, and this is where they do their social thing, right? And I really want that element brought over to Google+. I want all those social interactions brought over to Google+. I would love to see Facebook just totally destroyed and just bring them all over here, let them all interact over here. And we're starting to hear some stories of the teenagers starting to use Hangouts to hang out and so forth. And if that starts happening, if we can pull the whole family over, then we can totally destroy Facebook.
I agree.
I think it's all going to be the tools
We need
that they
evil
bring out.
laughter here, guys. Insert evil laughter.
We
Anyway,
hate Facebook.
I know
most
we're
of
going to
us.
lose Ronnie soon, so I want to make sure we hit all of the YouTube stuff.
Okay, so next thing that's on the list, they talk about captions. And captions have been, captions are another name for captions are the closed captioning or transcripts. They're time-coded that basically text moves along with the verbal that's going on. That they're going to be increasing the number of languages that they'll support. Let's see, automatic captioning in 6 more languages. And that's very important to people that don't speak English, because English has been around for a while. I don't have a lot of comment. I can go into that with more, but that's cool for many. Not, anyways. Yeah, SEO. Just a little tip. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Time.
Hang on just a second. We're getting some reports from YouTube that we've got some significant audio problems.
Significant audio problem.
Alan, keep talking. I'm going to pull it up on my phone and see what's going on. I'll be back.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about the captions and why you should care briefly. If you are an SEO person, search engine optimization, here's just sort of a little tip. If you understand that Google needs to read text, it can't listen very well right now still. So if you add closed captioning to your videos, you're going to have a better chance of the search engine understanding what's being said in the videos. So in that sense, closed captions are actually very important for you.
Yeah. Ronnie, do you go through and after a closed caption is captured that way, do you go through and correct all the mistakes, because there are a lot of them?
Yeah, I don't. Myself and for my clients, I basically sub that out to a company that does captions for me really well, and I don't use the automatic or what I call machine transcripts.
Right. I thought that's what you'd said before.
Yeah, but you can. If it's a short video, and let Google do it automatically, then go in and edit it. They've made it a lot easier to make the edits right there on the YouTube closed captioning area. You can make a quick edit here and there and just laugh at it. It's kind of funny sometimes and fix it up.
It's not a bad idea to have a transcript of a meeting, for example, to have it take minutes for you.
Sure.
If you wanted it to take minutes and then just have somebody clean up the minutes to make them good, I think that's fantastic. But does that only work on Hangouts on Air, or?
Oh no, it works on any video.
Any video, okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
They've got some extra things. The main key thing is I think they're talking about is just they're adding in 6 more languages, and that'll bring to a total of 10, where it's going to try to automatically, I think, create the automatic caption is what it's talking about.
I just want to interject for a moment that we seem to have our audio problems fixed. Thank you, Linda, and everyone else who reported the problem.
Phew!
Dan,
I can hear it again.
Dan, if you could sit down now, you can. We seem to be okay.
We got it, Dan.
Sorry, Ronnie, back to you.
Hey, no problem. So then the next thing in this sort of report from YouTube talked about basic in-video programming downloadable report. This is just nerd speak for saying they're going to give you another report that allows you to deal with or to figure out whether people are clicking on your in-video programming thingies. And what those are is they introduced, I guess it's probably about a month ago, they introduced the ability for your entire set of videos on your whole channel, meaning you had 10 of them or 100 of them, you click a button and something shows up on all of them, like a little thumbnail of your most popular video that you want to promote, or a thumbnail of your channel. And if people click on the thumbnail of the video, then they go see that. Or they click on the thumbnail of the channel, then they go to your channel. They're just basically saying that they're going to give us a new report that allow us to see how many people are clicking on those things, which is pretty good.
Okay, Ronnie, can you just quickly recap the previous 2 items, since many of our viewers didn't hear that? And I'm also going to point out, you had a post summarizing all this. So if you need to look at it all later, go ahead and take a look at Ronnie's post. He's got some summaries of it, but if you could summarize the previous 2 points again, that would be great.
The previous 2 were the first 2, I think.
Yes.
Okay, just summarize them quickly,
okay.
I guess.
They're talking about. Actually, I just noticed I missed something here. So, the first one I think I talked about was the off-site annotations, which is phenomenal. The thing where you can click on an annotation link and it'll take you off of YouTube videos onto your own website. Big, big, big deal. You have to set it up properly and go through certain hoops. Say yes, I agree. No, I won't do that. Yes, I will do that, etc. Then the automatic caption support is being increased to include 6 more languages, bringing it to a total of 10. Captions are important because not only does it help the hearing impaired, it also helps the search engines understand what's being said in the video. So those are good to do, as well as to edit and fix up if they need help. And then the last thing I was just chatting about was the basic in-video programming downloadable report, starting to show what are called click-throughs, how many people click on those things. Now, a lot of people don't realize this in-video programming thing has value outside of just your own website, and I made posts on that. So again, if you want to, I'm a YouTube guy. I do a lot with Hangouts and YouTubes and stuff, so look at my stream to see it. But I could promote Dan or Alan, because Alan's paying attention now, Dan's busy. I could promote Alan's videos by using these in-video programming things. There's no reason to say that it has to be my own video. So I could actually turn on for a day or 2, work a deal with Alan and say, hey, Alan, I'll promote your video for 2 days if you promote mine for 2 days, that kind of thing. And you can cross-promote by using these in-video programming things.
How does it appear to the user, Ronnie?
The way it appears is there's a little thumbnail of the video that I'm promoting that shows up right on top of the video, and you can decide you want it to see the whole time or just the last 10 seconds or 5 seconds or 15 seconds. You choose all that.
So I would see that when I'm looking at your video.
Yeah, you're watching my video, and near the end it'll come up with Alan's or whoever as I'm promoting, and then if they click on it, then it takes them over to him.
Now that sounds...
It's basically a bug that they put on there, right? And
it's like a clickable annotation link, except it's done outside the annotation area. It's got its own little special place.
This sounds like something that was introduced, I want to say 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's been around a while. Well, so I think it's only about a month. The internet years are...
Yeah, I may be confused on time. But so is this different from that, or is this...
No, the only thing it's telling you there's a report. That's the key. There's a report they're bringing out that you can measure to see how effective these are, meaning how many people are clicking on them.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Okay, that's all it is. That's great.
Well, yes.
It's proving a campaign, basically, right?
Yeah. Now, they also mentioned in this thing about what's called delayed video publishing and access. No. That's what they're saying is coming up with the error. But there is that just cues something into me. There is something that's new for most people is the ability when you upload a video, you can mark it as private and then schedule it to be released at a certain date and time.
That's nice.
Awesome.
And that's been actually out for a while, but most people didn't realize it. So they made a small tweak to it, which makes it even better. Because what happens if I upload today, which is Friday, and I decide I want it to show up on Monday at a certain time, I can set that up, and when it is becoming public on Monday at that time, the date and time that show when it was uploaded are Monday, not today, Friday.
So it really becomes the publish time, not the upload time.
Exactly, right. And so that's the little tweak they made, is they make it so now the publish time is what's shown for the update or upload.
So that also means you can do your video cleanup before it becomes publicly available.
Right. So you can upload your video, you can add in all these wonderful annotations that we're talking about, get that all ready, spend the whole weekend doing it, and then it'll automatically show up in the public stream on Monday with all the stuff ready to go.
And that's awesome, because now it means that you can essentially say that my video is going to appear every Monday at 8 p.m.
Exactly.
So now you have
Yep.
programming slots.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or you can serialize a video.
Serialization or programmatic control, and
Yeah.
make sure everybody comes at a certain time, and all the good stuff.
Ronnie, will that work with Hangout on Air publications?
No.
Drat.
Hang out on air, you're not actually uploading. You are letting the system put it in there for you. So there's a difference.
What about if you took a Hangout on Air and made it private?
Yes.
Then could you then go through this procedure where you could...
No, unless you download it to your computer and then re-upload it again, then you could.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
'Cause
so,
the key is uploading.
So we agree that it's bug-free and awesome. And I
That's
checked.
how
I
we
wanted to
agree every
explain.
week.
I was monitoring the feed on my beautiful Nexus, my Galaxy Note 2, which is the best phone ever, and the audio issues were. It was temporary. I apologize, and I've noted it in the description. But basically, I opened the YouTube player because the comment tracker in the Hangout toolbox was delayed. So I was trying, and we hadn't had a comment in like 5 minutes, which is very unusual. So I was like, well, let me check and see if there's comments on the YouTube player that aren't here. And when I did that, I ran my CPU up to like 95 to 100%, and that kind of screwed stuff up. It's weird looking at yourself. But what
Dan,
a
it's weird
dashing
looking
young
at you all the
man.
time, but that's another story.
Okay, so anyway, I apologize, and we've noted it, and et cetera, et cetera. And we are on topic 2, and we're 32 minutes into it.
So I'll make it quick. Is that what you're saying?
Are we good, or do you have more
Well,
stuff?
there's a couple. There's actually more, but I can stop.
Go
too,
ahead,
if you-
go ahead, real quick.
Okay. They just published. YouTube just published a new version, which is version 3 of the playbook, or the Creator's Playbook, which is YouTube's way of telling you these are the best practices if you want to do video right. Follow these, and this is the way to make it work. What's interesting for the really nerdy like me is it talks about certain features that we don't have yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Certain features that are just about to come out. So it's a good one. If you want to really dig into it, you can see all kinds of neat things and get an idea of what's coming up pretty quick. The playbook does focus and helps people understand a little more of these in-video programming things that we were talking about just a little bit ago. Plus it talks about the focus and the importance of watch time, meaning how long people are watching a video is more important for the ranking factors than just how many views the video gets. And that's something you've probably heard, or at least I've talked about it for a long time. I don't know if you guys have heard it a lot. And then there's one last thing which is not on the list, but it's in Ronnie's head. And Ronnie's seen it enough times to pretty comfortably say it's coming. And that has to do with the connection between Google Plus, Pages, and YouTube.
That's what I want.
Yeah. So, and this is going to bring us potentially into another conversation, and if we could have that soon, I don't know what your long list is, Dan, but then I could bug out and do other things. But here's the deal. We've been able to, for about a month now, I think, we've been able to do another one of these clickable annotations that lets you click on a video, and it jumps you over to your profile inside Google+. That's if you made the connection. In other words, you had to use your Google Plus profile name, as the name of your YouTube channel, and then the two played well together, and you were given what I call a Google Goodie, which means you can click that thing and it'll land on your Google Plus profile. It was not available for Pages. It's still not today, but soon after, probably December 3rd, after this massive update of YouTube, they will probably start rolling out the feature where you can have a page on Google Plus connected to a YouTube channel that does a bunch of things. So here's sort of the quick list, or the most important for me and for most YouTubers, is a feature that's been missing from YouTube for years, is the ability to have multiple people log in safely to a single YouTube channel.
To manage it.
Like managers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Google Plus, for quite a while now, has had the ability for a page to have up to 50, that's 50, different managers log in with their own login methodology, their own passwords. They don't have to share passwords. You got 50 people that can come into a page to manage it. Mm-hmm. Well, they're now going to let that page reach into the world of YouTube to a specific YouTube channel, and you can have up to 50 managers of a YouTube account.
Great.
Now,
So, Ronnie, may I ask a quick?
confirmed? Is this confirmed?
Well, YouTube's talked about it in their publicly released videos, so yeah.
So for example, if you were a page, could you do a Hangout on Air as a page and have it go to your YouTube page channel?
That's one of the plans, yes.
Whoa, hang on. That's one of the plans, but they haven't officially announced it yet. And
They've announced it in their developer meetings that they did a live public video for that's on the website right now that I can give you a link to.
when was that?
On the 28th.
I want to be clear. So it's not just tied to your email account anymore. The page is going to be tied to your YouTube channel.
A page can be tied to an additional YouTube channel. You get one-to-one. You can't have a page going to 3 YouTubes. You can have one page go to one YouTube channel.
That's perfect. That's exactly what it needed to do.
Can you have multiple pages go to the same YouTube channel?
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
No, hang on. I still want to get to they have confirmed this in a developer meeting.
Mm-hmm.
When was this developer meeting?
I'll scroll through my feed and find you the. All right, here's the video.
Are we talking within the past days, weeks, months, or
November 28th was when they published it. Let me go. I'll start playing the video, and I'll jump over to YouTube to see what the date it was uploaded. November 28th. That's the date. November 28th.
Okay,
and it's in this new rollout, supposedly.
Well, no, this is Ronnie conjecturing that yes.
Oh, okay. Got it.
They never have published saying it's coming on this date, but
got it.
I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting 25. You know,
exactly.
It seems to be appropriate that they're talking about all these things that are coming out soon, and we're having this big update sort of right at the same time. Amazing.
Let me ask you about one thing that's putting 2 or 3 of the features that we've talked about together.
Mm-hmm.
If a video can be posted at a particular date and time of your choosing.
A non-hangout video, yes.
A non-hangout. I didn't say hangouts.
Okay.
I said a video. Would it seem like something that would make sense to you, that would make sense to YouTube, or that they've announced that at the time of that publication, that it would also show up in your stream, in the corresponding stream?
Yes, they've actually. That's another thing they made reference to, that you can. There's a lot of things that have been going on since the 28th that they've publicly talked about and made announcement on. And you know, when you're inside YouTube, when you upload a video, you had the ability to share it automatically to Facebook and Twitter forever, for a long time. They now are planning on adding a Google Plus. So you can upload and let the video automatically go to your Google Plus stream and your Twitter account and your Facebook account simultaneously.
When you say automatically,
yes,
does that mean that you need to press an extra button to share it?
That means you have to click the option so that it's a setting when the thing goes quote public, because now we've got all these if, ands, or buts. When the thing goes public, then it goes to all these public places.
So those are the actual items when it goes published. Do these things.
Here's why I bring this up, because over on the blogger side of the world, we have had this ongoing fight that they have said that it is not going to happen that when a post happens, when it gets posted, that you'll be able to share it to Google Plus, unless you both post it immediately and you then click another button to initiate the share at that time. So if you're telling me that YouTube is doing it right and Blogger is doing it wrong, I am going to be so all over Blogger.
Well,
How
go
rare.
get on 'em.
In fact, this is a great
But
segue,
they're all
Alan.
Google, right?
Right. And yes, this is the segue to the next
I've been
topic.
waiting for the segue.
Well, wait.
But wait, there's
Here's-
more.
There's more. Here's the deal. Okay, here's the philosophical thing and the concern, right? There's all these great, wonderful things, and here comes the big but. Okay? Here's the big but from my perspective. What this is doing with the page capability, again, this is not officially announced, okay? But the page connection, Google Plus page connecting to YouTube, this is massive for the YouTube people. You might not realize it, but if you're involved with YouTube, the ability to have multiple people managing your site where you don't have to share your YouTube channel, so you don't have to share your login and information like that, is massive. I mean, that is humongous.
Hey, just one quick question while you're on that thought.
Yes.
Can I give somebody access, limited access? In other words, say I want this person to just be able to start a live stream and do a hangout on air for me.
From what I understand, they're saying for version 1, everything is going to be open, so they will all have equal access to the YouTube channel.
Okay.
So you're not going to be able to limit it. They know that people want certain limitations, but they're saying for the V1 or version 1, it's not going to be metered. Everybody has the same level of access. So with that in mind, I foresee a wave of people coming over into Google Plus from
That's what I was
YouTube.
thinking.
Okay? So to me, this is a big, massive shift that's going to start coming over here. But here's the big but. They're going to come in and they're going to use it as a management tool to manage YouTube. That's their main focus. They could
won't be interacting then in social.
they might not care. They might care. So all I'm saying is they're going to come over. Now, here's the but part. They're going to come over and they're going to be interacting with Google Plus as a page. Oops. So now here I say why oops, because let me just speak for myself. I think pages are extremely handicapped. They cannot interact with people because until a person circles the page first, the page can't do anything with them. So this is potentially a massive public relations issue because now we're going to have a whole second wave of people agreeing with Craig that Google Plus is a ghost town and nobody lives here because they're going to be a page that can't interact with people.
Here's a question, Ronnie. Currently, I'll admit I'm not fully up on YouTube channels. If I follow what is the relationship with people who follow YouTube channels or subscribe to YouTube channels or whatever the right terminology is? What's the relationship that I have with a channel? Do they know that I'm...
If you are a subscriber to my channel, for example, you will be, based on your own privacy settings, you will be alerted whenever I upload a public video. That's one of the key things.
Alerted by email?
You get alerted by email. You get alerted by...
No, you can opt out of that.
That's what I said,
depending on your settings.
Okay.
Okay. You can be alerted to every single comment that I, as an uploader, make. I mean, there's levels of alertness that you can receive or not receive. Plus, you can also go into... No, they just got rid of it. So, yeah, that's what you get.
So to follow up,
yes.
Can you, as a channel currently, go... I'm trying to think of the right way to put it. Spam me, basically.
If I constantly am...
If I'm not following your channel, can you, as a channel, do anything to me?
No.
How is that different from what pages can do?
Right.
All right. Let's say it's not different, but the key is, to me, what the difference is this is a social environment primarily. YouTube was a video environment primarily.
Well, here's the thing. I think, and this gets into what Craig was saying way back at the beginning, and what you were disagreeing with him on. This is something different. This is not. We think of it as a video channel and a social channel, but it's not. Both of the video channel always had social elements to it. There were a lot of people who wondered why they didn't just build a social network off of YouTube.
Sure.
Here's where they're saying, okay, you're essentially getting the exact same features that you had as part of your YouTube channel, except you don't necessarily have to be sending a video anymore.
Yeah, but there's a difference too, because if you're following Ronnie's channel, if I as a person am following Ronnie's channel, and I don't realize that Ronnie now has a Google Plus page that's managing his channel, somehow Ronnie has to get me to take the step to follow his page to complete the interaction loop.
What if
I've got another. Alan,
what if you're subscribed to a channel, you're automatically added, that page is now added to your circles.
Or at least it were automatically put in a special circle so I could do something with it to control
Sure,
it.
but that's not going to happen at first. And here's the experience that I'm trying to look at from a user's perspective.
Yeah.
I'm new to Google Plus.
Exactly.
I just came over because all this wonderful goodies is adding to my YouTube world. So now I'm in there as a page. And I'm looking around and say, well, oh, that's a neat comment. I'm going to +1 it because I guess that's what you do here. So I hit +1. I get a little red error saying there was a problem. And I'm like,
no other information.
Oh, well. And I try to interact somewhere else, and I can't. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other end, if you're the content provider, it's going to be a great way for you to kind of start scheduling all these events to take place. So you can do Dan could do 10 shows in a day, and then schedule them, every week to come out. So he has one production day, and he can have all these shows, released at one periodically.
Right,
so that's just a great thing.
But I think
that's a totally different topic.
That's killer.
I know, but it's great.
I think
okay, yes.
The important point on the crossover is if they actually make it so that when those things happen, that your page is able to broadcast and announce it at the same time, so people will be able to find you by following your page or by following your channel, and that essentially they become identical things.
Yeah, if you're Alan, it's a great idea. If someone subscribes to Ronnie Bincer, or let's say, because it's a business name, if someone subscribes to my Droid channel, Use My Droid, if they subscribe there, and then when this big massive change happens, that means they're automatically added into that page's circles, then I think you've got a nice transition.
Then it's real integration of the social aspects of both systems.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to get that.
Speaking of transition.
Dan's moving us along now.
Okay.
Okay.
Ronnie, thanks very much for sharing all of that with us.
I'm just worried because we have 30 topics, and we're at 47 minutes.
I talk a lot. Sorry.
34. No. It's awesome. Shoot. Sorry. Okay,
and the fact that we had to talk so long about this tells us that Google has just got to start streamlining and simplifying some of these things.
One last thing. They are trying to bring in eventually a thing called a dashboard, which is going to bring Google Plus and YouTube stuff all visible in one place.
Good.
There's a little thing to drop on you, and now we'll move on.
Okay, so next up, an exciting new, this will probably be a shorter topic, an exciting new followers gadget for Blogger. So,
right.
Alan, why don't you talk about that?
So listen to this. We've got this great new integration with YouTube. They're doing the right thing there. Clearly, YouTube gets social. They get the interaction. They've learned the lesson. And Blogger introduces this great new feature that they've had for months, years. Except now it uses Google Plus followers. Who cares? This is a case where Google Plus is introducing a mediocre feature in a place that desperately needs real integration, and Blogger dropped the ball again and again and again and again.
So, Alan, do you think that the different little subcultures of Google just don't talk to each other?
I know they don't talk to each other. Everyone knows they don't talk to each other.
Maybe we should suggest that they do.
But here's the thing. It's not just that we suggest it. That's what Vic has said Google Plus is for. I mean, that's what kills me sometimes when talking about this subject.
They use the Hangouts as the way they communicate between departments, and that's how they internally communicate. Google uses that's what the Hangouts were, right? So,
yeah, it's not even just Hangouts though. But it's things like, it's things like, Vic keeps saying Google Plus is the social layer over everything. So when you get products that are already inherently social, like Blogger, you'd think they get it, but they don't. They're so far from understanding what they have and how to integrate it and how to make it part of the larger Googleverse. They seem like they like being part of this world unto themselves. I mean, the concept that we discussed, I was about to say just 5 minutes ago, but it was probably more like 15 at this point.
I think it was yesterday.
Googleverse.
You know, you made an interesting comment about that whole social layer, Alan. You said, I wonder if Google Plus will even be a destination X number of years from now, or if it's all going to be one thing.
I think at some point in the future, Google Plus, as we know it today, will be a very, very tiny part of the entire social aspect. What we think of today as the feed will be, or as the stream, will be very, very different. It will have things like YouTube videos coming across it at the right time, and I will be tuning into channels on what we currently think of as a stream. I think we're going to be getting, this will be the, we're going to see this integration with YouTube, with email, with Blogger, all of these communication tools, and what we see now is the Plus stream. All of these are different communication tools. They're looking at the same set of data currently in 5 or 6 different ways.
Yeah.
We're going to see that merge. We're going to see that combine so that all of the different data, we'll be able to see it however we want.
And it's neat because they're this gets back to the other point. They're sort of trickling these features out. Not trickling. I mean, this week they did.
No, they're trickling. Trickling's a really good way to put it.
But what they're doing is they're really forcing everyone to use the service. I think it's great because, like the Hangouts, which every news organization worth its salt is using them, because you're crazy not to. You have HuffPost Live, which is using them, NPR, PBS, ABC News, the Washington Post, Reuters, everybody, because it's a free satellite dish. Tomorrow, in fact, I should have said this at the beginning. Tomorrow we're doing a Hangout with Ahmed Kaka in Alexandria, Egypt, to talk about what's going on over there. And before, I guess I could use Skype, but it wasn't too many years ago, and that would have been a satellite transmission costing thousands of dollars with some awkward delay. It would have been awful, not affordable. Now, for free, we can have a Hangout, broadcast it live on YouTube, which has the biggest footprint by far in video. Google Plus is a fledgling social network when compared to Facebook. Clearly, they have 1 billion users, probably 600 million active.
Again, I think we keep thinking of the social component as something different and discrete, because that's how Facebook thinks about it. Yeah. It's not. It's part of everything that Google is aiming for.
It will be.
They've called it a spine. They've called it the Google spine. It's kind of, instead of a backbone, it's kind of they're using the word spine for the Googleverse.
That's actually a good way to. That's actually a good way to put it, because that's also where signals go through. That's not just your backbone. It's how everything.
It's the vagus nerve.
I want to bring up this quote quickly from Kevin. If you get people to follow your YouTube Google Plus page, won't you split the conversation between Google Plus pages and YouTube? I think at first, yes, you will. But again, this goes back to what we're discussing right now. Yeah. Eventually, there will be no difference between your Google Plus page and your YouTube page. There will be no difference. They're the same thing. They're just presenting it right now in 2 different ways.
Yep. But they have been saying that for a long time, Alan. It's not like this is a revelation. They've been saying that Google Plus is going to integrate all of their features into one.
Yeah, I've nicknamed it YouTube.
And Alan, you're complaining about all that because
I'm complaining about it because they're screwing it up.
Well, because you want your privacy and the features. You can't have both.
Sure, I can.
That's what Google Plus.
That's what Google Plus is all about. It's giving me the privacy and the features at the same time.
Well, that's probably why it's taking so long to integrate as well, because they're trying to, go through that minefield of privacy versus features.
Yeah, but they already did that. Didn't they already unify the user agreement into one agreement? Yeah, so that's the first step.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Yeah. And I hear a lot of people demanding that it be. That's all I'm saying.
You make a good point, Monica. My concern, and what I think gets me, is that the YouTube integration, we've seen slow, steady progress on the integration. And what it sounds like is we're about to take that big,
Pretty big step.
leap.
Yep.
Okay. Blogger, we have not seen that slow, steady integration. What we've seen are very half-hearted measures, very poor integration.
Well, let me, Alan, as a guy, meaning me, that spends a lot of time looking at GooTube Plus, meaning the idea of integration between YouTube and Google Plus and Google, this has been very painfully slow for me because I'm so focused on it. I might propose that you are seeing painful changes in Blogger because you're more focused on it.
That might be true. I think part of it, though, is, for example, they touted a revolutionary feature at one point that you'd be able to, as I mentioned before, that you'd be able to share your post to Google+.
Right.
Now, on one hand, that seems revolutionary. On the other hand, that's sharing a post. That's something you've been able to do since day one.
Right.
And here they are touting it as a revolutionary feature 6 or 9 months after Google Plus launched. It's like somebody is not getting what really revolutionary means, and the fact that it didn't integrate with certain features of Blogger that everyone uses, such as scheduled posts.
But maybe they're not that interested. I hate to say this, but maybe they're not as interested in Blogger as they are interested in other people putting up a lot of different other WordPress sites or whatever sites that have AdWords on it and AdSense, and they.
Well, but they're interested in people putting up Blogger with AdWords and AdSense, and that's content that they can mine a lot easier.
All right, so we agree that the Blogger stuff is just awesome, and they're pretty much done with that whole thing. Okay, so can we move?
I have 10 Blogger blogs. I love them.
Absolutely.
I think, Dan, you might be paying more attention to your Nexus than to the show. I don't think we agreed on any of that.
Hey, Alan?
It's my dry wit. Go ahead,
Alan.
Ronnie, final thoughts
One
on
last
this.
thing, and then I'm going to leave after I do this. I'm going to do a screen share and show Alan a visual that was presented in this video by the folks at YouTube. Can you see that?
I can see that.
Let me blue mark you here. Keep that up there and tell us what that's about.
This is a mock-up of the upload interface where you put in your title, description, your tags, and down here you've got 3 checkboxes. You used to only have 2, Facebook and Twitter. Now they're adding Google+. So
what I particularly like on that shot is where it says new features like direct posting to Google Plus with new uploads.
That is awesome.
That is awesome.
That is badass.
Okay, so there I'll leave on a good note.
That's
hey,
great.
you said this wouldn't work with a Hangout. Would it work, Ronnie, if you catch it in time after you're done, before it's processed, and you mark it
Private.
unlisted or private? Do you have this, or do we know yet?
I don't think we know yet. And from what I've seen, the way Hangouts are processed is different than everything else. In other words, for example, there's a feature inside YouTube. Sorry, I'm now taking more of your time. But there's a feature inside YouTube that deals with defaults, meaning you can put in a standard title or a standard tag set or standard parts in your description, so that every time you upload a new video, those defaults are already in there, so you don't have to type it all every time. That function doesn't work when you're doing Hangouts on Air.
Can I ask you one last question, Ronnie?
It just tells me there's a different process in how they stick the video into the YouTube world.
Why is your Santa hat green?
Good question. Many people with my avatar have thought that I had, instead of a YouTube red play arrow behind my head, they thought I had a red Santa hat on. And so I've decided to say, nope, it's a red play arrow, and here's my green Santa hat instead.
Okay. I think I should add that to the topic list.
I'm an elf. Maybe I'm a helper elf.
Great.
Awesome.
That's cool. I see your red, your
I tell you
green
what, you
hat.
helped us out a ton tonight. That's
Raise
great.
your red one.
Yeah,
All right. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Thanks for inviting me in. I hope you guys had fun with it, and ping me on my channel, on my channel or my YouTube. Yeah, whatever it is, find me
Or
online.
Alan, we can find you either place.
Yes. That's
Thanks
right.
for joining us, Ronnie, and
It's
helping
been a
us with
pleasure.
some of these new features.
Thank you, Ronnie. Awesome.
Right.
I'm
Look
definitely
forward to
adding
it.
that
Remember,
to the list.
warning, don't do your Hangouts on Air
On Monday.
on the 3rd, December 3rd in the evening.
If any of the viewers haven't yet circled Ronnie, go do so immediately. Do not pass go.
Right.
Absolutely.
Do not collect 200.
Okay, up next, we're
Thanks,
going to go
Nick.
to Monica, I think. And this is an interesting story that the meaning of IT, there was a course, The Meaning of IT, and it kind of got big on Google. And I
Yep.
see Monica has also gotten into the Christmas spirit here.
Yep.
So tell us what this is about. This was kind of a neat little story. I'm glad you shared it with us.
Yep. So basically, there's a. Hang on, I lost my link here. But it's basically just a course at the University of Colorado that is incorporating Google's trending topics. And it's the first course in the nation that is teaching this, and the fact that they decided to teach these trending topics using Google Plus as an example instead of Twitter, I find very interesting.
Do you know, Monica, how they selected? I mean, was it the professor just was out there surveying things that were interesting in the tech world and chose Google Plus, or did Google do a marketing push with the professor and staff to get them to see the value of using?
From the story, it said that the professor picked Google Plus over Facebook. She didn't mention Twitter because of the privacy support that Google Plus gives over Facebook. So it was largely over a privacy issue.
Yeah, and this is a very tech-savvy town. And I have noticed that I will honestly say Google Plus is big in this town.
You're in Boulder?
I'm in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
I have actually myself been recognized from the internet, but I am a easy to recognize person. I have a distinctive look, and I use a wheelchair.
Right.
So when people say, "Oh, look, that's them, Monica," that's probably easier to do than with other people. But Google Plus is big here. You know, people carry around smartphones. You know, they use Google Plus. I'd have to say it's getting big, so it's not surprising to me to see that this is being taught in the university.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on this from anyone?
I think this is a big deal. I mean, if I remember correctly, it was the assignment was along the lines of post a graphic of something and tag it with this and see what kind of reaction you get of the visual description and of the tag itself. So it was kind of a way to see how tags influence things and people, and how the visual arts influence people on Google+. So overall, it's interesting. It was both an experiment and a demonstration.
Yeah,
all right, so Michael, go ahead.
No, I thought it was fascinating that I was curious about and Monica explained this a bit. Why CU? I used to live in Boulder, and but the explanation of it's a tech-savvy town. Google Plus is perhaps has more market penetration in the CU community than you might find in let's pick an example, Vernon Hills, Illinois. You know, so I just found that interesting.
Yep.
So the question is it tech savvy because Monica's there, or is Monica there because it's tech savvy?
I'm out there pounding the pavement every day, Craig.
All right, that's awesome. Okay, so at 1:03:52, Panoramio.
Oh yeah.
This is a late edition. I don't know who put this in.
I put this one in. This is an interesting thing that I ran across today. Panoramio, I think it is now letting you export your pictures to Google. Now Panoramio, I believe, is another Google company. So it's not too big a stretch here. And one of their main goals is, and I only learned about them in reading this, one of their main goals is to let people upload photos of places. It's very place-oriented. So you upload a photo to a place, you geotag it with that place or that feature, that location-based feature. It's not about people. And over time, good ones will show up on Google Earth.
So it's basically a crowdsourced way to create photos of the world and have them show up in Google Earth Maps. Now what they're saying is, in addition, anything that you've uploaded to Panoramio, if you choose, you can automatically have sent to your Google Plus profile a special folder there with the geotagging. And they emphasize very clearly that it's going to contain the geotagging that you've given it. So this is a great way to show travel photos. It's another way for photographers to talk about where they've been. It's another one of these nice crossover, sort of kind of blended together well features.
It's a travel log from the 19th century brought forward to the 21st.
Have you used it before, Michael?
I signed into Panoramio some time ago, maybe before it was a Google company. I don't remember, but I thought it was a way to stitch together picture. If you take a series
panorama?
of photos,
You're talking panorama photos.
yeah.
I honestly don't know if it
That's
offers
the way
that
I
feature.
remember it working, and I don't know if I've got that right. Does anybody else know? Yeah, okay.
I didn't see that mentioned, but I'm not saying it isn't.
I could be mixing it up. I don't know.
So this again, my point in including it in tonight's show is this is another illustration of another Google property,
Right.
which is trying to develop a close integration with Google Plus, and it's not there yet. It's not two-way. It's not automatic. There is a little bit of a lag in between when you upload something to Panoramio and it shows up on Google Plus, but this is one of those great positive steps.
Yep.
That I think that not only is it a great positive step, but I think it points to the larger strategy of where they're going with this.
Yeah, I mean, you can see from the things we've been talking about tonight that Google's coming through with a strategy that I think it was Vic talked about, that they're really going to integrate all the different things that are part of the online world, and as much as possible the real world, into the spine, the central nervous system that is Google Plus.
Yeah, didn't he say in effect that Google Plus is Google? That there's no difference?
Yeah.
That's basically what he said.
Okay, so moving on, and moving away from Google Plus for a little bit, we have this article about how basically, and this is no huge surprise, I suppose, investigators are using Facebook posts to make arrests, to gather information and evidence on subjects. Talks about things about how fight videos posted on YouTube are being used to find out who is involved in the fight after the fact and get those people in trouble. So, once again, this is a case of you post something publicly, people are going to take action on it publicly.
You just
your
can't
thoughts,
teach
Pam?
people not to be stupid.
I know, that's what I was thinking, Dan.
I don't get why anyone would be surprised that if you post, if I post a picture on Google Plus, smoking a bong. Okay. I mean, I don't smoke marijuana. I'm in Virginia. I don't know. I might try it if I was in one of those states. Willie Nelson said, "When I switched from alcohol to marijuana, it saved my life." But yeah, if you do this and you post it publicly, A, you're a moron. B, if they could figure out when it was done, or like if you did it in a recognizable place, like if I'm in front of a coffee shop and I'm holding up a newspaper and I'm smoking a joint, so they know the date, they know the location.
One of your newspapers, yeah.
A Warren County Report or Florida County Report would be great.
You could just be smoking a bong in your house, and you know what? Your boss isn't going to hire, or your next job isn't going to hire you. There's evidence that you're.
Well, what I said. Go ahead, Craig, and then I got to go to Monica. But
Are we surprised that criminals are idiots?
No, I think that's the point. That's what I said to Monica.
There's a show on TV that's on weekly.
Monica is a strong advocate for privacy and stuff like that, and making sure there's not overreach from prosecutors and police. And I think I admire that and respect that, and I agree with her in a lot of stuff. But on this, I think going to what Craig said, really you're being arrested for stupidity more than whatever crime you posted on there. Monica, what are your thoughts on this?
So some of my thoughts on this are, number one, the police are not known for being overly tech savvy in the first place. So how easy would it be, number one, to frame somebody? Say you don't like somebody. How do you know that?
That's what trials are for.
And how are you gonna? And how? But Pam, how are you gonna prove? Say you've left your computer open and unlocked, and say your child has gone over and posted something without your knowledge or permission, and say it wasn't even, say it was a picture downloaded from the internet, but it appears to give the impression that you have done something wrong. Now the police have shown up at your door. They say you've posted this.
Yeah,
and
what? I mean, that the kind of what ifs are endless.
But wait a minute. We have a criminal system in this country that is run for profit, and we have 3% of our population that is currently incarcerated, and this is higher than any other country in the entire world. We have a higher prison population than China, than Russia, than any other country in the entire world, and it is for profit.
That only speaks to the fact that we're allowing those laws to be passed. It does not speak to the fact that if you're going to do something stupid, or you're going to walk away from your computer and all of a sudden you give up personal accountability, you walk away and let your kid do something, that's your fault.
And not every crime means you're going to be doing time. You're not going to go to prison.
Let
me
give you an example.
Let me just ask a quick question.
Let me give you one more devil's advocate. Let me give you one more devil's advocate situation. If I was to say to you all here right now, I'd like you to start a bird feather collection. Bird feathers are really pretty. Let's go outside, pick up a few, take some photos, post them on the internet. We were to all go do this right now. You all could be jailed at this moment for posting public pictures of some bird feathers that you had picked up outside.
But that speaks to the stupid law, not to the police.
But it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
You mean like if you picked up an eagle feather by accident or something?
What?
You mean like if you picked up an eagle feather or something?
You have violated the... let me... Hang on. Nathan, what's the law? If you pick up a bird feather? Is it the International Migratory Bird Treaty? It doesn't allow for the salvage or of any...
And you spit in a subway, you could be arrested and thrown in jail. So, no, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
It actually does happen.
It does not happen.
It actually does. My fiance is a birder, and he knows.
Before we get off on this, I want to bring up a different situation that I think is entirely reasonable based on what Monica mentioned before.
It's a misdemeanor, not a felony, but they still do actually prosecute on that one.
Here's a situation where if I wanted to get somebody in trouble, if let's say if I'm a high school student and I want to get somebody in trouble, what if I got a picture of them and photoshopped it so that they were clearly holding a bottle of beer? And I posted that on the internet.
Okay.
What would happen to that person, Pam?
Absolutely nothing.
No,
nothing would happen.
Nonsense.
No, it would not. You would have to. The police would have to find it. It has to be reported. It's just a public. Yeah, it's
sure. Sure.
You're saying if you just did that, would that result in someone being prosecuted? Absolutely not.
I think we can dwell on hypotheticals, Alan, but really, someone would have to show me a case where somebody was, busted from a Photoshop picture. I mean, some of these cops are so stupid. This woman who got off and she was Googling how to suffocate your kid or whatever. I guess you could be set up theoretically, but come on, show me an example.
I don't think
there's a great website called the Innocence Project, in which there have been over 100 cases of people, some of them who have been on death row, who have literally been exonerated because of DNA evidence that shows they have not committed the crime for which they have been
then there's
convicted.
people that have then there's people that are in
I
videos
wanna
that are
see
in
an
fights,
example of
public fights,
someone-
burning public buildings, and they get caught.
I want
right?
to see
So
someone
it's the
who,
other side of the coin too.
I want to see an example of someone who's busted because of a Facebook picture or other social media picture, who was innocent.
The point is, though, that here we are on a tech show in which we are constantly complaining that the majority of people can't even figure out this platform or know how to use it. And the point is that when this goes public, like, what if we have people seizing pictures or basically trying to
And they
convict
will.
others?
They will, Monica. There's fishers and scammers and schemers and all kinds of criminal elements. And you know what? It's your responsibility to be savvy, or don't use the internet. You need to learn.
And so basically,
you still haven't
a
answered my
child
question.
who stumbles onto a hangout and basically finds themselves in a situation where they should never be.
Where are the parents? Where are the parents? Sorry.
That's not
actually,
an answer.
I'm agreeing with Pam on this.
It is absolutely an answer. Personal responsibility. Get rid of the stupid laws and don't vilify the police because
A child is not responsible if they are born into a situation where they don't have parents.
Well, then there's
whoa,
No
time,
way.
time. I want to get us back to the story.
No way.
I want to get us back to the story and the relevant issues that the story itself brought up.
That's a great idea.
The story was talking about how police are using evidence that they've collected online to prosecute people. And we started out by talking about how phone somebody. We started by talking about how we went under the initial assumption that it's stupid criminals who are posting this stuff. And I'll agree. They're stupid criminals who are posting this stuff, and police are taking advantage of it. Police take advantage of stupid criminals. I think Monica raised a very valid question, though, about what happens when it's not stupid criminals who are posting stuff, but it's somebody who wants to set up and frame somebody else.
Well,
and I'll stop and say you're right. I'm not saying it's necessarily a felony. I'm not necessarily saying they're doing it for reasons.
But wait,
along those
Alan,
lines,
wait.
But I'm saying there are people who will do these sorts of things against
But
other
what does
people and
I can do
Facebook?
it
What
to
does
you
a
right
wait?
now.
What does a
I mean, I could
Facebook
say
photo have to
that
do
you
with
are-
that? Hang on, Jeff.
Yeah.
What does a Facebook photo have to do with that? If you were going to create a fake photo, you could just email it to the cops.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
right.
how is this Facebook's fault or Twitter's
What's the
fault?
difference between me calling in me saying that at Alan's house he has a computer? I go on a hotline. I call a hotline. I say at this address they're hosting pornographic pedophilia, and hang up.
Well,
it doesn't have to be
difference,
Facebook.
The difference, though, is that
scam someone over regular phone lines.
the difference, though, is that I can now post this on Facebook, tag it with this person, get 200 people resharing it to the point where it now seems to be real because you've got 200 people talking about this photographic evidence.
It'll be
Before
traced
now,
back to
this
you.
is
and
like-
you would be arrested.
This
you
is
would
a
be
bit of a
arrested.
stretch, a bit of a
I don't
weird,
think it's- I
bizarre
don't think it's-
conspiracy theory.
But
I don't think it's
getting back
any
to the
more-
point, here's something that's a real case issue. The San Francisco Giants won the World Series. That night, some punks took over a Muni bus and torched it. $700,000 bus, just torched it. The video was on Facebook. They caught the guys based on the video on Facebook. They caught them.
And like
What's
some of
wrong
these
with that?
beatings,
What
some
are
of these
they doing?
beatings
What
where
are they
people
doing
post
to
them.
the
They'll
They're
be in a
prosecuting
McDonald's
you.
and there'll be some crazy person beating people up,
That's why
and
there
those are
are-
posted
there-
on social media.
That's
All kinds of
why
people are
there
busted because of
criminal-
YouTube.
That's right.
All kinds of people are busted because of YouTube videos.
That's right.
The cops would be negligent if they weren't looking at Facebook feeds of suspects.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I think
That's why they
question
have lawyers, defense lawyers, and criminal lawyers, and that's why they go to trial and they have evidence on both sides.
That's why they have
and they
Pam.
work it out.
So you're saying that Facebook photos posted on Facebook are good evidence?
I'm saying that photos posted on Facebook are evidence, and that could lead to good
And guess
evidence.
what? And divorce lawyers use them.
Oh, absolutely.
Indeed. I mean, look, if
Not
you want to
just
smoke
criminal,
a bong, don't post a picture on Facebook and then bitch because someone arrests you. Final thoughts, Monica, because you feel passionate about this. Before we go on the
I
next thing.
would say that there's probably not one single person in this hangout that has ever done something that has not been a little indiscreet. Like when you were 12 or 13, whether it was not criminal or whatever, but had been in some picture or something that you would rather not get publicized, or whether it was just an embarrassing high school picture.
I did something in
And
the
so my
street
point,
yesterday.
well, and we won't go into that, but my point is would you like all those archives from your high school yearbook or your middle school yearbook or all those videotapes scanned online and archived and uploaded for posterity
Monica,
and reviewed? My point is if we're going to record all this and have this uploaded and start having these for-profit companies go into these and try to see who they can prosecute, this is going to become a bigger and bigger problem as time goes on.
I think it gets to parenting. I think it gets to what Eric Schmidt said recently. He said, before you have the birds and the bees talk with your kids, you need to have the online talk with your kids.
We had an election over this, Dan. The kids are being raised by the government now, don't you know?
Next topic.
Parents
Okay.
are not capable.
Speaking of
Go, Craig.
Speaking
Get
of
in there.
conspiracy theories, Craig Ship joins us from.
They're behind your bus.
What town are you in now, Craig?
I'm at an undisclosed location.
Monica?
He's in
Monica.
a brand new.
Doing things that are
Prevost.
indiscreet.
He's in a brand new
Monica,
Prevost bus.
Wait, Dan. Monica, I agree with your last statement, absolutely.
Wow.
I just wanted you to know that.
Are we getting? Let me jot this time down. Okay, up next, Facebook. Craig's favorite website is rolling out PhotoSync.
Yes. Once again, Google takes a great concept, they launch it, they proceed to mess it up, and Facebook now takes the same concept and makes it, sound like theirs. It's almost like Apple and Android, because we haven't had that debate recently either. No, but seriously, it sounds like Facebook, in their most recent iOS and Android apps, is introducing something they're calling PhotoSync. The information about this just started coming out today, so there's not really a lot about it. But man, if it doesn't sound exactly like an instant upload. Anybody have any thoughts on this before I just...
Doesn't Apple have
away
the
the
same
topic?
thing or similar?
There is nothing.
Yeah, they have
I hate
PhotoStream.
worse. There's nothing I hate worse than instant upload.
Why?
Why?
Because I might take a picture that I don't want instantly uploaded.
But it goes to private,
It
Pam.
might be indiscreet.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's funny.
Pam,
when
you're
I'm
one of
in
the people on the previous segment, see?
Yeah, I don't actually. I like instant upload, but I don't like it all the time. So if I take a photo of something because I'm at comparative shopping, and I just want to take a photo of it, all of a sudden send it, online, I have to delete it.
Hello.
That's an
I like
epic
that
screen
face.
cap.
That's
Let me grab
Somebody got first avert.
let's put Alan. That's epic.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, let's,
Make that picture.
that picture's got to go on the web.
Please,
I've got
nobody's screen cap.
Everyone hit
Hold
print
that over.
screen.
Oh my God, the police are at my door.
I got it.
Oh Jesus.
Here we go. I'm gonna get
Oh
it.
my
Here we-
God, that is
I
awesome.
got it.
You got it? Everyone got it? All
crowd.
right, cool.
He'll pay for that one.
Oh yeah, that will be caption. Okay,
It's a rough
everyone
crowd.
post it. Everyone post it separately with caption this photo, and
Is
make sure
Alan
you
using
plus
a
mention them.
Chromebook? Is Alan using a
So,
Chromebook?
Monica, is this what you were talking about?
It looks like he's using some sort of laxative or something.
Yes,
I
I
don't know what the hell's
expect.
going
I want ridiculously photoshopped images.
Oh yeah. We'll
There's
put
so
a
many things we can Photoshop into this picture.
yeah. Somebody
Oh no, there's
somebody
so many
grab
things.
this. Somebody grab this. Put a
Put a link
Rasta
in
wig
chat.
on there.
I'll put a link in chat.
A big
Yeah,
old
Michael's
blunt.
already shared it.
Ugh.
Okay, so that's pretty epic. Okay,
This
so,
is a rough crowd, I'll tell you.
All right, so we're all excited about Facebook's new feature. So let me switch topics here to let me go to our next topic, which is People Browser. This is kind of interesting, and hopefully Alan will be able to join us from his delightful Chromebook, which is just flawless. People Browser had a deal with Twitter where they would, for a year, have access to their big data pipe. and then it went month to month, something like that. So Twitter's been clamping down on this stuff. Other companies pay for access to the data pipe. Apparently Google wouldn't pay enough, so they lost their real-time Google search. So what happened was Twitter, they were sued by PeopleSoft over this lack of the termination of the agreement. And Twitter said, you know, we had a contract, and the contract was for a year, and then it was month to month, and we're ending it. And they sued, and the judge actually put a restraining order or something like that to say that they couldn't actually shut them down yet. And People Browser's argument is that they have invested millions of dollars in this business that will be destroyed if Twitter does this. So in my opinion, the judge was wrong. I'm sorry, I don't know what People Browser is, and they're getting screwed, clearly, but it's contractual law, and the analogy I would make is you don't build an Olive Garden on a plot of land when you've only got a 1-year lease. You get a 20-year lease that's renewable before you invest millions of dollars building an Olive Garden, right? So it looks like that's what they did. Let me go to...
You can't build your business on someone's back end and expect them to continue to play ball with you.
You can if you have a long-term agreement. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like Zynga with Facebook. But you don't want to do it on a 1-year deal.
No, you don't even want to be doing it on like a 5-year deal. I would be very cautious of doing something like this on a 10-year deal, you know, because what happened could happen, you know. The company goes, okay, our contract is over, and I mean they can be nice for a few months, you know, a relative long period afterwards, but then they go, you know, we don't want to do this anymore because, you know, our information that we're providing to you is, you know, of more value than what we're getting from you, and you either don't want to play ball with us or we don't want to play ball with you anymore. And all of a sudden your business model becomes worthless.
Pam, you're sort of a legal nut. What do you think? Tell me how right I am.
No, I think you're right.
I like that. Say it again. And put the Alan picture
Dan,
up. Jeff, you got the Alan picture
you're
again?
always right.
Can we put up the Alan
Yeah,
picture
here it
while
is.
Pam's talking? There you go.
Dan, you're always right.
Go ahead and talk, Pam, and we'll pretend it's Alan.
Oh
my God, that's going to be awesome, man.
I just don't understand.
That's got it.
Quaker Oats. Okay, Pam. Yeah, this sucks for them. I'm sorry for them. You know what I'm saying? But it's contract law 101. They signed a deal for a year based on the facts we know as we know them now, right? For, you know, circling the tarmac. But they signed a year deal with a month-to-month.
Wait. A lot of companies, when they first start up, they lease space, they lease a building, they lease something. My company, the company I work for, leases a huge building in San Diego, and but that's leased, and they have $5 or $6 million worth of automatic inventory control equipment in there, and if they lost their lease for whatever reason, that's custom-made equipment. They're screwed.
Well, they'd be able to get their equipment out of there.
They'll be able to
judge
get.
is going to give them a
Wait,
amount of time.
They'll get their equipment out, but it's customized for that space.
Okay. Yeah,
they basically,
you
know, they're taking a big chance because they don't own the building.
Yeah, most lease agreements you have to bring the property back to what it was before you came in, and they would have to do that, get the equipment out, and then bring it back to where it was. So that's kind of tough. But usually there's options on lease agreements, you know. So you figure that they would have an option on the contract with Twitter.
Right.
And most business arrangements would have that to continue forward.
And I read the article, but I did not read the contract, so I have no idea.
So Dan says that he feels sorry for this company, and I have to say I do not feel sorry for this company.
Because they're so stupid.
Well, that aside,
I feel sorry for the dude who smokes the bong on Facebook and gets arrested. I feel sorry for this company who signs a 1-year deal, invests millions of dollars, thinking that they're going to ride it for the next 20 years.
And that's why I don't feel sorry for them, because they are so stupid.
You're heartless.
Because Twitter made it clear that this was what they were going to do a long time ago. So any company that didn't realize that this was going to, when the contract went from, a year contract to month, and they didn't realize that, eventually, very soon, relatively very soon, Twitter was going to pull the plug on them. I mean, they weren't paying attention to, what was going on in this social media sector that they're in. I mean, and that's why I don't feel sorry for them. It's like, they should have seen this coming from 100 miles away.
Yeah, but say you're renting, right? You have a 1-year agreement you sign with your renters, and all of a sudden you're into your 13th month. You think it's going to keep on going, and they give you 30 days notice you have to move. How would you feel?
Well, of course I wouldn't like that, but I mean, this company is a very popular company. A year ago, it was a very popular company. The value of this information was going to go exponentially up. And any reasonable person would, suspect that. So at best, they should have expected that this information that they had for a year, if they were paying $1 for that 1-year contract, that they should have expected to pay, like $10, for the next year, and after that, $50. But instead, they just said, that's it, and I don't know. This specific case, this specific situation, I just cannot feel bad for this company whatsoever. I think that there's actually even other companies that were involved with Twitter that got more screwed over than this company did.
Okay, we have an issue real quick. Alan's trying to join, but it thinks he's still in. So it says there's 9 people in this hangout, but it thinks he's. Oh. So I need someone to leave and then come back in, because once
he's back.
Oh, he's back.
It did the same thing to me, Dan, when I got kicked out. It showed for like 5 minutes. I had to refresh.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's awful.
So we all agree.
We all agree. So we're good on this topic. That
has no bugs.
This isn't.
I want to know what Alan.
Yeah, really Alan, what do you think about the People browser who had a 1-year lease and
because he's going to completely agree with me without having heard anything I said. So.
I don't know. I actually started tuning in on YouTube, so I was trying to listen in for at least part of it. And why are only like 3 of them shared? And in fact, I think my comment there was an option. They agreed for a 1-year contract with indefinite continuation and option to terminate with 30 days notice. Let's face it. If you sign a contract, you sign a contract. This is the deal that you make. That's one. 2, they seem to be resting on this argument that Google promised them. Well, they didn't promise them. It wasn't in the contract. Twitter promised them. They didn't promise them. It wasn't in the contract. It's not a promise. 3, Twitter isn't saying you can't get access to our data. They're just saying you can't get access to our data the same way that you were getting access to our data. You need to go through some other company which is acting as an aggregator for us now. And they don't want to do that because they want to be the aggregator. So it's not that Twitter's saying, no, you can't have access at all. They're just saying, hey, there are new rules in place. You got to play by the new rules.
They do have a situation. It's expensive to put these pipes out, right? And they've exploded with growth, with not that much monetization. So they have they're under. I mean, I don't know if they're a public company or what. I don't think they are, right? But
I don't remember. But
whoever owns them wants to make money, and this is a big expense, right?
Well, but if there's a contract in place, that means there's.
I mean, I'm getting to the larger issue of Twitter screwing all these developers.
Well, the way Twitter is ending up screwing all the developers is basically by stacking the game in their own favor, is kind of the angle that they're playing it by. So it's not that outside developers can't get access. It's just that their access becomes more limited. And in some ways, it's forcing those outside developers to start charging for their stuff.
And this kind of vindicates what Vic said. He didn't want to do an API until they did it right because they didn't want to change it and take it away later. And that's exactly what Twitter's doing.
Exactly. And that's pretty much the case that he was making for it.
Okay. So we do all
We're all in agreement. Did I agree with you, Anthony?
Yeah, mostly, if not completely.
And my Olive Garden on a 1-year lease analogy was great, if I do say so myself.
Unfortunately, I missed that. But I can picture it.
So at 1:30...
Google Plus Week, brought to you this week by Olive Garden.
Yeah, I had a little wine.
You didn't have a little wine, Dan. I spoke to you after that.
I drank a bottle of wine.
I got an email that says Dan is inviting you to a hangout like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, what?
Oh, I had a fun time. My neighbor...
I had a fun time. I'd say you had a fun time, given how much you were...
My delightful redneck neighbor I was driving him to Axiom, which is like a Kelly temp service, to get a job, and he got a great job, like $11 an hour or whatever, and he needed a ride, and he's not a rich guy, and he had never been to a fancy restaurant or even what we would call casual, mid-scale, whatever. I said, well, let me buy you lunch, to celebrate your job. And so we went to Olive Garden, and then the waiter came over, and I said, I want a bottle of wine, and I handed my redneck neighbor the keys, and I drank the bottle of wine, and then I did a mobile hangout on the way back, and I was a wonderful, delightful drunk. So I did it, and I did not share pictures on Facebook because I'm not stupid.
Did
Even
the
drunk,
redneck
I'm not
neighbor
stupid.
take any?
Huh?
Did the redneck neighbor take any pictures?
I hope not. If he did, I'm in trouble. Okay, so at
He's going to post them to Facebook, and the police are going to arrest you, right?
Indeed. Okay, so at 1:36:55, I have a question for Alan about this. Kind of gets started to the blogger thing. That's what prompted it. But you've been fussing about a lack of integration, and I have been talking. What I've done, I guess the first person to publicly do this was Mike Elgin.
Yeah.
With the Elgin diet, which means or the Google Plus diet, right? And I guess by meaning you originate your posts on Google Plus and then you feed them, and that's what I do. And I'm actually testing a new thing now, which we'll report on next week. But it's a new there's a Manage Flitter application that takes your Google Plus posts and put them on Twitter, and then you can use the app in Facebook to move them from Twitter to Facebook. But there's another one that we're testing, and we'll be posting on that in the next couple of days. We'll see how we like it. But the prior to Google Plus, a guy said something really smart, which was completely contradictory to this. He said social networks come and go. You need to have your own site. That's your home base. And then you start there, which you own forever, and then you farm the posts out to other social networks.
Yes.
And a lot of folks do that. But with Google Plus, those of us who are fans, we're so excited about it that what we ended up doing was we would originate most of our content, if not all. And in my case, 95% of my content originates, I mean, aside from the newspapers, but like my social content, originates on Google Plus.
Aside from what you get paid for.
Correct. The wonderful newspaper business that allows me to waste, this
4
time
hours
sucking
every Friday
hole
night.
on Google Plus, which I adore. But anyway, so the question is, if you're in this, I wanted to get to this discussion with Alan and the rest of you folks about where you should originate your content and what exactly you would like to do to integrate Blogger or other sites with Google Plus that you can't do now, and kind of just explore this, where we should go with this. Alan, please.
I've got 2 comments lined up related to this. The first one I think is most relevant was from George Cozy, where he said, how do we justify that after all this time we still can't personalize our Google Plus regarding the aesthetics of it? And I think that kind of nails home to me why your home base shouldn't be on Google Plus. And it boils down to, it's not yours, it's Google's. Your home base, if you're you're trying to say something, if you're trying to get something out to the world, it needs to be very, very clearly yours. And maybe what you're trying to get out is as simple as, you know, just a blog on some thoughts. Maybe it's a business. Whatever it is, if your foundation for it is on Google Plus or is on Facebook or wherever it is, you're now beholden to somebody else. If you've got your own domain, you're beholden to nobody.
The flip side to that is Google owns your content anyway, unless you've opted out of search, which would be stupid.
They don't own your, no.
They don't own it, but they've got
content.
it.
Right.
It's in Google, and we don't want another. MySpace was great. Okay, it was like it was the first big social network that took off, and it Mark Zuckerberg learned from their mistakes in the same way that Sam Walton walked through Kmart and got a bunch of ideas and did it better, and Zuckerberg did it better, and now Google Plus has come along, and in some ways it's better, in some ways it's not. But we don't want another MySpace thing where these ridiculous pages. I guess it's less of an issue now because the internet's so fast for most of us in our 26th fastest internet country that we're in. But the other, and also so too much customization. But again, it's only a year and a half old. But to the second point is that Google has so many footprints that are so crucial that it's very important to, I mean, like the YouTube stuff. Why am I being muted?
Dan, you got muted there. You're now back on.
Am I?
But yeah, I mean, you make a valid point about how much customization is too much. And the answer there is, it needs to be what and exactly how you want to reflect it. If you are, if you're overdoing it, if you're blaring loud noise, people are going to stop coming to you unless there's a reason why they want to come to you. And that might be the loud blaring noise. I think the fact that Google Plus imposes a specific set of aesthetics is fine. And if people want to follow you on Google Plus because they like those aesthetics, that's great. That's another channel. But that makes Google Plus another channel for you. That makes Facebook another channel for you. But it means that you are still you. And the best way to do that is to keep your own domain.
Any other thoughts on this, and then we can move?
Yeah. How much does it cost to have your own domain, Alan?
Cheap.
$15 a year or less.
Yeah, $10, $12.
Yeah, Craig's the man.
I think what Alan's talking about, and it makes a lot of sense, is create and build your own brand. A brand is what is valuable. A brand is what you hear selling for a bunch of money. And sometimes it's the talent that goes along with a brand or whatever, but basically it's a brand that somebody built. And one element of that brand would be a URL. You probably want to own the Twitter handle to go along with that brand. You want to lock that brand down as many ways as you can and then build value into that. And as opposed to building value into somebody else's brand.
And I think the other thing that's important to understand is I'm not saying abandon Google Plus. In fact, what I'd like to see Google doing more of, and they've done just a little bit of this, is make it so that the social aspects of Google Plus carry over onto your site. We saw this a little bit at I/O. I think there's a lot of other places where Google can do this well. Twitter's doing it. Facebook's doing a little bit about it. I'm looking forward to seeing more there.
But they're not actually doing much of it, and they haven't done this from the start, which is why people are forced to basically, like when you upload an image, you have to upload it here on Google+. My friend runs Laughing Squid. You guys know Laughing Squid?
Mm-hmm.
That's why, he has to do all his posts on Laughing Squid and then put the link on Google+, but you can't, if you put the image up here on Google+, people won't click through to his blog.
And I think that's a good point, and that's one of the things that we've also been talking about for a long time, is that Google has in a lot of ways made the integration between Google Plus and your own site really, really difficult. I think one of the positive things that we heard from Ronnie earlier about how YouTube now is getting those integrations with your site a little bit more. We've seen over time that Pages have a little bit of that integration, But even so, we're still seeing horrible integration with Blogger, which lets you work as if it's your own site. I know there's growing pains. I know there's problems. I got a bunch of people flaming me in the comments about how Rome wasn't built in a day. And Monica, you said this as well, and you're right. The problem is in a lot of ways, we just don't see Google giving that kind of support and saying up front that it's going to be a while until they do give us that support. And that's frustrating. I wanted to take this time briefly to make a point that Gervin mentioned about Panoramio. The most interesting thing about it was that it also adds the photos to Google Plus local pages when it copies them over. And that, again, ties into the same sort of thing. If you've got a local establishment, if you take a Panoramio photo, it'll tie into the Google Plus local, it'll show up on Google Plus. It's the whole ecosystem of everything working together and working together with your own brand outside of Google Plus. And we're not there yet. We need to be there. That's where Google is going, but it's not there yet, and it's very frustrating. I just lost it. Oh, there it is. We had this sudden comment from George. If Google Plus could be our home base, Google Plus would have our home pages in its backyard. I would have thought they'd want that to happen. Here's the funny thing, George. In some ways they do, but in some ways they don't. Google is really, really good at mining the internet as a whole for data. So just by having you inside their walled garden doesn't get them so much. They're really good at having it out there in the world, and they can leverage the advertising that you want to put on it out there in the world, and they give you a lot of control, and they take advantage of it. So basically, you can cite it, host it yourself, and they're happy to come and collect the data from you. And that's what they're so good at, that they don't mind that your homepage is somewhere else. Anyway, Dan, you raised the question. Do you have any further thoughts before we move on? Dan, you're still muted.
Oops, am I back?
You're back.
Okay, so at 1:47 and 09. Okay.
I guess you had no further thoughts. Okay.
Correct. You sent me the produced version, which I'm going to upload as soon as we're done here, from last week's show, and it was great. And you did it with from Drive to Gmail.
Yes.
And the only thing that was a little confusing was how to save it. I tried to save it from within the Gmail. I tried to right-click, save link as. That didn't work. So then I opened it in Drive, and then I downloaded it there. But why don't you talk about this, new integration and making it even easier as Drive? Is Drive going to – are people switching from Dropbox and other things to Drive, first of all?
I don't think so. I mean, everyone I know is still talking about Dropbox. I think it will happen. But again, this is another case where Drive, a lot of people think of Drive as Dropbox. It's not. It's more than that. And understanding how it's more than that really gets you to start understanding where they're going with Drive and what you can do with Drive.
And the prices that they lowered, was that Drive?
My understanding, and I could be wrong, is that's not Drive. That's their storage on their clusters. So that's their compute engine and their app engine storage clusters. Basically, what that was is Amazon dropped the prices of their disk, so Google dropped the prices of theirs to match Amazon's.
Competition's a good thing.
Competition can be a good thing.
Although Craig's for monopolies and owns several of them.
Yeah, so Alan, on Drive, did you hear the story that now we can email large files?
That's just what this, Craig, that's what this story is.
Yeah, we should include that in the topic too, Alan.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Anyway,
go ahead.
Drive actually released a whole bunch of changes this week, and they're all in some ways tied together under the scenes, but you wouldn't know it from the way they rolled it out. This one basically boils down to, from Gmail now, one of your attachment options, if you use the new Gmail interface, one of your attachment options is to attach a file from Drive. And it doesn't actually attach the file. What it does is it puts a link in to the file in Drive. And if you didn't permit the file, to the person you're sending it to. Did I just freeze up again? No, okay.
No.
No.
If you didn't permit the file to the person that you're sending it to, it will say, hey, you didn't permit it to this person. Do you want to permit it? You say, yes, go ahead. It doesn't send the file as an attachment. It sends a link to the file in your drive space, which is a little different than what some people are going to expect, I think. But it now means that you can do something like...
And now you're gone.
Man. We're sponsored by Chromebook tonight.
Is he using a Chromebook?
Yeah.
Continuing with what Alan said, how is it different from, technically when you actually open an email and if you have attachments in there, if you're downloading it, you are basically downloading a file.
Right. I'm actually speaking without knowing about this, but I suspect that you're still just downloading a file. The difference is you're not downloading it from the Gmail servers. You're downloading it from the Google Docs servers.
I bet you're not downloading it.
Well, yeah, you're getting access to that Google Drive folder or file, and then from Google Drive you're going to download the file.
Right.
So it potentially just adds one extra step.
Right.
And
So
now that
basically,
Alan's back.
At least this time it let me back in. Where did you guys lose me?
Alan, I had a question.
Mid-sentence.
How is it really different from actually, downloading an attachment from an email? Because
well, you got to realize some people, when they read their email on their local machine. So when you get the email, it comes with the attachment and it's already sitting on your local machine.
Right, but I was talking about the webmail. You're talking.
So yeah, he's saying that basically the attachment, like if you're offline and you're looking at the emails that you've already pulled off the server, the attachment's not going to be there.
Not necessarily. The other big thing, though, is it means that you can send somebody a text document, for example, and they're not getting the text document, they're getting the live version of it, so you guys can go and edit it together again. So it's now an easy way, basically, to share. Think of it as an easy way to share documents rather than an easy way to send somebody a document.
So are you saying that by default, if you send an attachment from Google Drive to somebody, you're also giving the person the right to edit it?
Well, by default, you're giving them the right to read it, and only to read it.
So is there a way you can also give them a right to edit it?
I believe one of the options when it says you're now sharing this with somebody, what rights do you want to give to them? I believe it prompts you at the time you attach it. What rights you want to give them.
But isn't it, say for example, I have a 50 MB file in Google Drive at the moment, right? And if I want to share it with you, I can just pick up your email address and share it. How is it different from what it's doing right now?
It's going from the other direction, where previously you would have to be in Drive, and then go into the document and say, share this document with Alan. Instead, now you could be drafting an email to me about something, and say, and here's the document. So it's basically approaching the same thing from the other angle. This kind of ties in with our theme from the entire evening about how everything's kind of melding together.
Yep, thank you very much for the explanation. I was asking for people who don't know how to use it.
So basically, it's in a lot of ways, yes, it's the same thing that we've had for a while. The big difference here is that it's coming at it from the other angle. It's thinking of it in terms of attaching a document, as opposed to permitting people to a document. And for a lot of people, that can be a big perception change.
And for those who think that theoretically an attachment is a part of the mail itself, it is true that if you actually have an email MIME object, the attachment is actually embedded in the object as ASCII text.
Right, and this again changes kind of the nature of how we think about, or how Google wants us to think about attachments. But this is only one of the things that was new with Drive this week. And Dan, this is your time code marker. The next big thing that they did was the mobile version, both the Android and the iOS version, got an update. And with that update, we now have the ability to view and edit spreadsheets as part of the mobile app. And that's something that people have been asking for a while.
I played around with it. It works really well. It works scarily well. I have a script that automatically updates a spreadsheet that I have. Just every 30 minutes, it puts new data into it. And I'm watching it from my phone, and the data suddenly appeared on my phone. It worked great. It worked almost flawlessly. The one problem with this is that although the numbers in the spreadsheet will show up, any charts or anything else that you have attached to the spreadsheet don't yet. So the implementation, it looks slick, it looks great. You can edit those cells too, and they show up instantly everywhere. But it still has some work to go, which is, the running story of Google.
You think they'll ever have the basic things that, like, 20 years ago spreadsheets had, like graphs and, you know what I mean? Like you could have, a column and a row and a couple columns, and it would create a pie chart.
This already blows VisiCalc out of the water, if that's where you're going. It probably does a pretty good job on Lotus 1, 2, 3 as well.
Excel.
Excel's big things were the charts. I don't know. It probably would give Excel a run for its money anyway.
Alan, I have a question though. I know that you can play video files right out of Google Drive, right? So if you actually shared a video you have in Google Drive with somebody, let's say it's a 50 MB again video file, or actually if you want to embed that video file in your mail to somebody else,
Yep.
is that gonna give you a link?
It gives you a link.
Okay.
Now, it gives you a link. Yeah, it gives you a link. That's the answer, because that's what I did with Dan. Is I sent him 2 video files, and it sent him links to 2 video files. But that actually ties in well with the next topic again. Funny that. Dan, your time code, please. One of the problems, and we had a viewer way back when we first started talking about Drive, we had a viewer, and I apologize that I don't remember who it is, and I didn't go trying to look up their comment, who said, he had video files, and there was no way that he could make those video files public and for people to play it directly off of Drive. Drive just wouldn't let him do that. And I was kind of disbelieving at the time. But he insisted, and when we tried it out, it was true. Even if you made something public, you couldn't actually view it, just because of the way Google had done things with Drive. They've changed that. So now you can host a website out of Google Drive. And one of the things that a lot of the Hangout app developers have been talking about this week, because we get together in Hangouts and we talk about Hangouts and drink a lot. One of the things we've been talking about is how to move our app hosting onto Google Drive and what we can put there and kind of what interesting things we can do with it. So, for example, we're now talking about doing things like having a web page hosted in Google Drive that self-modifies itself so that every time you look at that page, it changes itself. Or it changes some other page that you have on your website. And this is done completely through JavaScript and through existing technologies. There's nothing really radically fancy about it. But since a page can update, since a page running on Drive has access to the Drive API, it is able to change files on Drive. And for anybody whose head hasn't exploded yet, that means you haven't figured out what we're talking about. And honestly, we haven't figured out what we're talking about yet.
And in that case, I have the question which I probably asked you on the comments of the post. You said that Drive, you're figuring out how to actually make Drive host a website, right? So is it going to look like, or is it currently looking like Drive can work like a web server?
Yes.
But
well, with the caveat, Drive itself will work like what we call a static web server. It'll serve up pages that don't need to be generated at runtime. The difference, though, is that those pages can become are the dynamic part,
Agreed.
And those pages can generate new pages.
Right. So, but you're still looking at client-side code mostly.
Yes.
Right. So
not mostly, almost entirely. You're looking at client-side code.
Right. So what I know that maybe we shouldn't get into technical stuff here, but just one question: do you expect Drive as a web server to support server-side technologies anytime?
No.
Okay.
And the reason why no is because Google has that as a separate product.
The Google, what's that? App Engine.
Google App Engine.
Okay.
It supports currently three server-side technologies. It supports Python, it supports Java, and it supports Go. That's going to be where you see those server-side operations taking place. And in fact, it's got two server-side stuff. The other one is Google Compute Engine, where you've got massive computational power behind it. So I think the three, however, make for a pretty awesome combination. What I think you're going to start seeing a lot of is Google App Engine and Google Compute Engine used for the back-end computation stuff. So, for example, if I need to, it's hard for me to come up with a quick description.
Let me ask this question to clarify this to viewers who are interested in this. By the way, can we render dynamically modifying or not modifying pages from Google Drive, which has server-side code sitting in Google App Engine?
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, basically, what you'll be doing is you'll be making API calls to your App Engine side, which will be sending back data, and your client-side code will be self-modifying itself.
Okay. Sounds good. Next topic.
Next topic. As Dan figures out what our next topic is, I mean, basically, the final item was what wasn't part of Drive, but it was part of a kind of enterprise-like thing, which is why I grouped it with these other ones. A Googler kind of pointed out on his personal blog that he reminded us that calendars now have a way to set up and schedule a Hangout. Right. And when you do it this way, it essentially reserves a Hangout for you as part of the calendar. As part of this isn't part of event, even though I'm about to use the word event. It basically schedules a Hangout for you as part of a calendar event. One of the things he pointed out is that the API for Calendar lets you have access to that as well. So you can now create a program that will create an event or create a calendar entry, and kind of as part of that, you're creating a Hangout with a known URL.
So basically, it's like a meeting which you have scheduled already, and even if you are not arrived, the Hangout can happen based on the event which is timed for a particular slot.
Sure, or even you can create an event, a calendar slot that starts right now, and you can have the program automatically change it to end when the Hangout itself ends.
Right,
and you now have this. People have been asking for a way to programmatically create Hangouts at known URLs. Now we have kind of a sideways way to do it.
Schedule it and automatically create it.
Yes, it can be automatically created, and that URL is known and can be sent to other people.
Or you can also have the original event having users added originally, and they can be notified this Hangout is live, and you need not be there.
Yes, and that was something that I proposed months ago, and I demonstrated a way to do it. This takes it in a different direction, and I haven't fully tested it yet, but this may solve some of the problems that people had in using that method. And we'll see where it's going. We had a quick comment from Kevin. So basically, Google Drive is now Mega Upload. Wow, that's an interesting question, an interesting problem, but yeah.
What does that mean?
Mega Upload, you might remember, is the website that was taken down 6 months ago by the FBI.
Oh.
Because in a raid with Kim. What was it?
.com.
Kim.com. Thank you.
.com.
So yeah, it's a good question. Is Google What's Google's protection for making sure you're not storing illegal stuff there, and will all of Google be taken down for you?
Well, they're gonna do a big push on Google Drive because they're monetizing that. After you get your free you get the longer it's like Gmail. Eventually, we're all going to be paying. I mean, who's going to go there and delete everything?
Oh, come on! Why does illegal stuff have to be so big? If you are storing an illegal MP3 we downloaded from somewhere or whatever, it can be 3 or 4 MB, right? You can put it in a Gmail. How is it different from putting it in Google Drive?
Well,
I think it's a bum rap on. I mean, Mega Upload clearly was an egregious place to get.
No, I agree.
Illegal content. But what's the difference? I mean, how many? If every single person in this hangout, every person watching, could go to their general stream, just click on your stream, and you will see tons of copyrighted content.
That's not yours.
That's not.
And if you go to your Gmail, like, what if somebody sends you something that they didn't have the permissions to? Like, what if your friend sends you a photo that was sent by somebody that they didn't know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any difference between that and Mega Upload, except one was robbing banks.
It becomes a really slippery slope.
One's
We just heard that the
shoplifting.
police.
One is shoplifting, one's robbing banks.
The police are coming onto Facebook. Wait a minute, what if they run out of criminals to go after, and then they start looking at copyright violation?
Do you think the cops would be competent if they didn't look at a Facebook post, the public Facebook profile of?
Come on, we've already talked about this.
I know, but it becomes a really slippery slope at some point. Don't you guys agree?
You absolutely cannot compare people posting pictures on Google Plus to Mega Upload. One is largely with intent to steal, and one is not with intent to steal.
But Anthony, here's the thing. Mega Upload also had a legitimate business. People were using it because they needed a way to store large files that they could get access to from other machines. And hey, that's exactly what Drive is.
I don't see any difference at all. If I upload a funny cat pic that I don't have the rights to, Anthony, and it gets shared by 1,000 people, what's the difference in that and uploading an episode of The West Wing?
I'll tell you
the intention is to take copyrighted material and distribute it.
No, because
how is it different?
If you upload an episode of The West Wing onto Mega Upload, any relatively
the only difference is I'm
person
depriving.
knows that they're committing
The only
a
difference is
crime.
I'm allegedly depriving someone from revenue. Nobody's going to make any money from a funny cat pic unless you make posters or something.
Damages.
You're going to make your 50 cents from YouTube ads, maybe, but come on.
Basically, with West Wing, yeah, you're depriving them from actual monetary damage. There's something they can come after you with. If it's a cat pic that someone doesn't plan to make money off of,
how do you know that I don't plan
copyright information?
No, how do you know that I don't plan to make money off my cat pic?
Because you didn't get it copyrighted.
It's automatically no. That's not valid, Michael. Anything once put into a fixed medium is copyrighted automatically.
If you have a picture of a cat and you take a picture of it, and you upload it, just for casual use,
casual use of your cat pic.
How do I make money off of it?
Unless you explicitly say that you are releasing your rights to the photo,
there's no difference.
It's protected.
One's shoplifting, one's bank robbery, but they're both crimes, right?
Michael, there are a lot of people on Google Plus, even professional photographers, who upload their photos to Google Plus, who show it to, and who will also sell it, and they make money off it, and they expect to make money off it.
Alan, question. Agreed. First of all, we could definitely make some money on the Epic screen cap when you departed the Hangout earlier.
I saw that, and I think that's great. That's going to get
You want to know what the difference between Google Plus photos being posted and things being uploaded to Mega Upload is that if the FBI comes and says, Google, this picture needs to disappear and be removed, Google's going to remove it. Where if they went to Kim.com and said, your site is hosting illegal content on Mega Upload, he was not going to remove it.
But he was.
Okay, here's the thing. We all know if you look at Google Plus, Facebook, the old MySpace, there are probably 10,000 times the number of illegally hosted copyrighted
Tumblr,
items.
Blogger,
Pinterest.
Yeah, all that.
Nothing's legal on Pinterest.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Zero. It's like the number of people who pay taxes selling at a flea market. Zero. There is Mega Upload was really a small player. They just were impacting an influential lobby, the RIAA and the MPAA, the Motion Picture and the Music.
I
people.
would strongly maintain that Mega Upload was intentionally breaking the law.
Absolutely.
Their business motto was to break the law.
So is YouTube.
There's evidence that,
So
but you know,
was
I mean,
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube initially didn't they had emails, right?
Yes.
But that was
YouTube
before
had-
they were bought by the Do No Evil people.
So George had a great comment. What about fair use? You know.
And that's a good question. And there's two things. One, I think it's kind of funny that George is bringing up fair use because I don't believe that's actually a legal concept in his country. And it's a complicated legal concept in the U.S.
Well, if it is a legal concept in his country, he'll be telling you about it soon.
Yeah, he will be. I haven't seen the post pop up yet, so it's a good question, and it's complicated and it's not straightforward. What a lot of people think is fair use isn't.
Last word, Monica.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting we're actually discussing this week because there was actually a proposal by some Republican lawmakers to actually talk about reforming this. Whether it'll actually happen this Congress, I don't know.
Yeah, and that was actually on our list from last week to briefly discuss. We tried to get the author of the person who found the report about copyright reform that was posted and then mysteriously disappeared. We were trying to get the author of the person who...
Patrick Leahy?
No.
What are you talking about?
Who did you try to get on the show last week?
I forget.
Yeah.
It's so last week.
It's so last week.
Yeah. That's like decades ago. I'm ADHD and I don't take Ritalin, buddy. So, you know, you're on your own. All right. So, real quick, an unannounced, incredibly exciting thing. Ingress is still invite only, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, yes. Michael, who's looking dashing with his shaved head for his service. Thank you again for your service to our nation.
Which Michael are you talking about?
Michael Banks.
The one with the
What?
I'm bald, but I'm not shaved bald.
You're not bald. You're you know, like,
follically challenged.
Yeah.
Says the
Michael's straight up bald.
Guy.
Okay, Michael Banks. So you got some Ingress invites. How many you got, and how do we give them away? Are we allowed to do that? Are you going to get in trouble? Are you going to get on the list?
He's not allowed to sell them.
I'm not allowed to sell them. Yeah.
Unless you're on Facebook. Any possible way to make money?
I don't want any. I don't want the game. I will never install it, and I am never ever going to play that game, especially after Alan's post.
Can he sell them for intangible things like affection or esteem?
He wants money. No, he's going to give them away. How many do you have, Michael? And how do you want to? I guess we'll just say like from like now. First of all, do you just want to do it like on Google Plus or YouTube comments? I guess everyone go to the YouTube player.
It's your show. I will provide you with 2.
Okay, we got 2 invites.
Yes.
And what you have to do, if we do it on the YouTube comments, how do you communicate with them? They're all YouTube users, right? So you could send them a message, right?
Yeah, I'll just get their email.
Okay, so go to the YouTube player. If you're watching on Google Plus, at the top of the player, it'll say, you know, Google Plus Week. Click there, go to YouTube to where you can comment. And then in just a moment, we're going to start it. We're going to come up with some crazy word, and you've got to type that word in a comment. And it should be something related to Alan's crazy screen cap. What do y'all want to come up with? What should we use?
Do I need to find this crazy screen cap now?
It's the one that Cozy shared.
I shared it too.
Yeah.
Everyone shared it. So here's what I think. I think the 2 people who give the 2 best captions to that screen cap should get it. And I'll I'll let Dan.
I'm glad I'm not playing.
There you go. I was going to say something like type Hobbit now.
No, I think the two best captions for that screen capture should get it. And the reason why I think that is because the Shapers are all about creativity.
This
is all about
my caption is so NSFW, so
save it for Thursday, Pam. Save it for Thursday. All right,
I'll send it to Alan in a private message.
Okay, so we're going to switch on Google Plus or on YouTube. The two best captions, and I may have an invite myself because I requested one and then I went through a back channel and got one, and I got in that way, and then I got the invite code, activation code. I'm not sure which one I used. So I may have a bum activation code now. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's attached, but anyway, yeah, the best photo the best caption for Alan's thing is wins the best two wins an activation code. And thank you, Michael Banks, for your generosity.
No problem.
Okay, so we've all been waiting for this topic. Google is buying BufferBox, or has bought BufferBox. BufferBox is sort of a mailbox, like these Amazon lockers that they're putting in 7-Elevens and in certain places. It's basically a mailbox, etc., that's unattended. It's just a locker, like on a college campus or some sort of store, and UPS or FedEx can go there, I guess, and drop packages off. And you don't have to, if you're in a situation, it's a common situation. It's the reason mailboxes, etc., exist, because the Postal Service, they won't accept UPS packages and stuff. Which, if they did, they'd make so much more money. They'd sell these large boxes and they'd make all this revenue. But God forbid. So they don't do that. So what do you guys, this seems, I don't know. I mean, this isn't a super big deal. Anybody want to weigh in on this, Alan? Or
this isn't a super, whoa. Hang on a second. This isn't a super big deal. We have spent hours talking about how Amazon is doing this. And Google doing this isn't a super big deal.
Why would they buy one? Why didn't they just do their own? Why wouldn't they just do their own? It's not rocket science.
Oh, I think
set up a locker system, make a deal with UPS and FedEx.
Dan, this is a company that can't even figure out how to sell a phone. And you're expecting them to figure out how to do the other end of the retail?
It's harder than you think.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so is this Dropbox idea.
Yeah.
This is a company that really doesn't know how to handle the physical world.
That would involve talking to people.
Right.
Having a telephone.
I mean,
crazy stuff.
People, when they were talking about this, they were saying things like, yeah, this is clearly an illustration about how Google is committed to retail. No, if Google was honestly committed to retail, they'd learn how to sell things. That's retail.
You're surprised that a company for the first 10 years of its existence didn't have a phone number, doesn't know how to sell phones?
What I'm amazed at is that people actually think that they can sell things. And
I was looking at this thing, though, this BufferBox. What they should call it the Google Box, which they may, and splatter their logo, the Google Plus box, whatever they're pushing that week. And but it doesn't seem like rocket science to set up some lockers and just tell FedEx, UPS, give them the secret code to get in there.
Well, getting it in there is not the problem. It's getting it out. That's the neat trick.
What do you mean?
They're not. I mean, it's not that you own one of the boxes. It's not a post office box. It's that you're going to be, this product that's destined for you will end up in one of these boxes near you. You then get an email, a text message, or whatever that says, hey, go to this BufferBox located in this location, and in box number 4 is going to be your product. And the way you open up that box number 4 is you go there and you hold your NFC phone up to it. Or you go there and you then send a text message to here, and the box will mysteriously will suddenly open up for you.
And this is at a university in Waterloo.
What was that?
This is at a university in Waterloo, right? Yeah. So they must have some patents that are cool.
It's going to be an Ingress add-on.
Huh?
So it's going to be an Ingress add-on. You're going to get like a code, and you're going to take it there, and you're going to get some kind of portal.
They're portals. So you're saying buffer boxes are really portals?
Oh God!
You gotta send stuff to their agents.
Don't forget, folks. Don't forget, kids. The best caption for the only the folks
where's
who
this
watched
caption
earlier
being
will know.
posted? Where are you
shared
guys
it.
posting? YouTube?
That picture where you
YouTube or on any of the
only the people
shares?
watching will
Alan,
we'll share it later. We'll share it later. Okay.
Can I add something?
Yes, Sariq.
Alan, irrespective of how bad Google is at retail or blah blah blah, whatever, this particular idea, I don't know that Amazon already has this. How is it different from what Amazon does right now?
I'm not entirely sure how Amazon's doing what they're doing. My understanding, though, is Amazon is pre-deploying things. So they're basically saying, if they're going to sell you a phone, they're going to have a number of these phones pre-deployed at certain of their kiosks.
So let me. I don't know whether everybody read that link. I actually was interested in it, so I read it. And I think it's...
Gee, does that mean you're not interested in everything else we talk about, Sri?
Absolutely. You think I really care about... Forget it. So what I'm saying is, I don't know. I can just explain if you would really like to know. You have to get to the 7th paragraph to understand what the company does. And that's the first comment on the article as well. Anyway, so if it's like... Let's say Michael here gets a shipment from somewhere. Let's say you went to Google Shopping or bought something, right? So if there is this box or set of boxes near wherever you want to go, whatever, they're going to send you a mail with a code in it. And let's say you go, it's near your office, for example. You go there, you use that code only once on that particular box number. You take your product out of that, and that's it. You can't. That box is not reserved for you.
Right. Like I said, it's not like a post office box. It's a one-time thing.
Okay,
Right.
so it's epic, game-changing technology, and we're all excited about it, and we're 221 in.
It may not be game-changing, but I think I like the delivery model.
Yeah, it's great. You don't have to. I mean, what do you do if you don't have a mailbox, etc. box, and you're
replaces
getting,
the one in the building.
someone sending you the Hope Diamond or whatever?
It will work very well in big cities.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, on your way home, especially if they start doing deals with Google Shopping where they're doing same-day delivery.
Right.
And they've got their own network of delivery boxes, which would get more customers to pay them to be listed on Google Shopping. See, I'm doing this as we speak. See, I'm coming up with these things.
And from the retail company's perspective, they don't really care about your address anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's epic. It's awesome. We all agree. Actually, we do. Okay, so at 21 seconds, Patrick B. Gibson. Almost everything that Apple does that involves the internet is a mess. I despise Apple. It's a toss-up between Facebook and Apple, who I hate more. Probably I hate Facebook more. But any kind of Apple bashing story, I always, we can squeeze in.
What will Google have to do for you to hate Google?
Huh?
What will Google have to do for you to hate Google?
Kill his firstborn child.
It'd be a stretch. Okay, so
we actually covered this a little bit last week. This was where everyone
feel free to go in and do all the gory details again, Alan, on why Apple sucks.
This is where everybody beat me. This is one of the places everybody beat me up on last week. This was basically the argument, although I didn't see all of the same connections as last time. Patrick B. Gibson, for those who apparently don't know, and like I didn't, is a former Apple engineer, and he was the one who made the comment that Google is getting better at gadget design faster than Apple is getting better at internet services. And does anyone want to rehash last week? Otherwise, we're going to skip over to the next topic.
I'm sorry, I added this topic and I wasn't around last week, so.
No, that's okay. So if you added this, what are your thoughts on it, Anthony?
I mean, I didn't really actually read the article. I just read the headlines.
The caption.
Oh, this is epic. This is a great show.
But
as Anthony would say, as Anthony has told me before, so this is a throwaway show.
so Alan, we have folks here who don't
you
read
think
the
okay, Google is advancing in hardware, clearly. Android, like Craig Shipp, who's now departed, has always bashed Android phones, and then I showed him my Note 2.
But that's not a Google product. That's not Google hardware.
Samsung, they're in bed with Google. I mean, they're working together. It's an Android product, right? So the Nexus 7's Epic. I'm using it here for a stopwatch, and
that's
they're
not
getting
a Google
better.
Product.
But they're in cahoots.
Not in the same way that Apple's in cahoots with Apple.
Although, but don't you think that what's his name? All right, whatever his name
Whoever
is.
this guy, Patrick Gibson.
Yeah, don't you think Patrick Gibson meant
Foremost
the
authority.
Samsung Galaxy 3 and the Nexus 7? Well, even if he didn't mean like the Samsung Galaxy 3, I think he did, but I definitely think that he meant like the Nexus 10, 7, and 4. Because Google designs those products, especially when you're talking about like the Nexus 7 and the maybe not so much the Nexus 10, but definitely the Nexus 7. Where they're having such a massive, input on how these devices are, going to be made. Like, yeah, they're using the same internals for the Nexus 4 as they did for the, one of LG's other phones. But the glass back and how it's going to look and how it's going to feel is very much Google.
Anthony, if they were designing them, then how come they're not Motorola's?
Well, I can tell you exactly the reason. I mean, I can tell you the short version or I can tell you the long version. But the short version is they don't want to tick off the rest of the OEM partners.
Anthony, here's the thing, though. I mean, the Nexus 7 is a modified other tablet. I mean, Asus had shown what became the Nexus 7 at a trade show 6 months earlier. And Google had, Google then worked with them to say, hey, here's the price target we want. Let's get it down to that. So is that Google engineering or is that Asus engineering?
Well, I mean, and the same thing can be said for Apple. Is they don't make the hardware. They hire other companies to make the hardware, and the components are other companies. Components. The display is Samsung. The processor is Samsung.
Well, but no. Hang on a second. Increasingly, no. But the processor may have been manufactured by Samsung, but it was designed by Apple. Everything about an Apple phone is designed by Apple to its specifications.
I just have one thing to add.
So,
hail Apple, hail Apple, hail Apple.
My understanding of the Nexus devices is that a company comes, with the concept for the phone. Google comes with them and say it must have this, it must have that, it must do this a certain way. And once it passes those standards and they're happy with how it looks and how it acts, then it's gone, it ships off.
Maybe the Nexus 4 is a bad example, and a better example would be like the Nexus S. Well, like that device was, a brand new device. And I guess, you could argue, and I don't know how this falls out, but you could argue who designed the device more, whether it was Samsung or Google. But that device was very much, a unique device as much as, smartphones are unique devices anymore.
Enjoy your 3G with your Nexus 4 you're going to get.
And you're copying your competitors, but do you think like Samsung decided that glass was going to be curved on this on the Nexus S? I doubt it. I'm sure that was a Google's decision.
We got a pretty good screen cap opportunity for Anthony as well. He's frozen.
I was about to say, is he only frozen?
You're frozen in an awkward facial expression, and everyone hit print screen. Let me get him up here now because we picked on Anthony. I mean, we picked on Alan earlier. Hit print screen and come up with something funny. Okay. To Pam's point,
I think I should get.
So now I'm in a fake and awkward screen position.
There you go.
Just because you all are being so mean.
I switched from Motorola Photon to the Galaxy Note 2, and it was like going from Roseanne Barr to Angela Jolie. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, you switched from a crappy phone to a top tier phone. I mean, even when the Photon came out, it was a crappy phone.
No, it wasn't. It was good for like a week, or so I thought. Are we good on this?
Yeah.
We got a controversial topic now, unlike all the others. Okay, so I'm going to go to Monica on this one. senators realize they should probably update that 1986 law that lets cops read your email. The background on this is interesting. It was from, I think, 86 when email was, beginning. And everyone had, back then the cloud really wasn't in existence. And so you typically had your email stored on your local computer. So what they said was that email that was over 6 months old was dormant and abandoned, and that the cops could just get it without getting a search warrant. And so obviously that's absurd now, and was then, but anyway, any evidence, they should have to establish probable cause. And so they're updating this, and there was some controversy from Senator Patrick Leahy, who's spearheading this bill, where I forget what they said, but then he denied it, blah, 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 drama, rare Washington drama. And this is an important change. And some of the police agencies, and in fact, the Obama administration, one of their assistant attorney generals came out against this, which is very disappointing to me, and said that it would hinder police officers. And then someone made the opposite point that, well, it doesn't really hinder them because they have to get a warrant for email that's not 6 months old. And in most cases, if you've committed a crime, you're going to be charged and investigated prior to 6 months expiring. So what's the difference? So let me go to Monica first, and you can kind of frame this, and then we can duke it out.
Monica's not here.
Oh, dear.
Monica seems to have vanished. Yeah.
Alan, you can.
I mean, briefly, it's an antiquated law. Is really what it boils down to, and as usual, it hasn't kept up with modern technology, and that's no big surprise. I think the biggest problem, though, is when writing laws, you want to try to create laws that will stand the test of time, that express some fundamental truth, whereas cops, what they want is something very, very clearly defined, so they know exactly what they're allowed to do, and that's what DAs want, that's what prosecutors want, that's, all of the people who are responsible for enforcing the laws want a nice, clear line to make sure that when they have a case, they have a case. And this is one of those cases where somebody created that nice, clear line, and now that line needs to be moved. And that's really what it boils down to. And I see Monica is back, so maybe she will comment further on this if she is actually back, as I keep talking, waiting for an image.
So I don't know why anyone would see this as acceptable, that, that police would be able to look at emails, because it's wiretapping is what it is. And
Anthony, think of it this way: if a package is left on your front porch, if a package is sent to you and it's left on your front porch and it's left there for 6 months, would you expect somebody to pick it up, or would you expect that to remain private for an indefinite period?
That's a stretch.
No,
Alan.
that's
come on.
no. I think the argument.
No, because an email is a package.
No, it's not.
Yes,
no.
it is.
It's
an electronic letter. It sure is.
No.
Well, they certainly couldn't go and retrieve
exactly
your package from your front door on your property and take your personal property without your permission, even if it was left for 6 months.
But at what point is a house abandoned? At what point is property abandoned?
But
that's really what it
this is
boils
private
down to.
communication, and to draw an arbitrary line like that, I think that's a stretch.
And that's another argument.
This gets to this other thing. This is totally off topic, but not really. And the Supreme Court just did this decision, which was a no-brainer. Illinois had this ridiculous law about wiretapping, saying that if you videotaped cops on duty, that you were illegally wiretapping them. And so if the Rodney King video had happened in Illinois in 2011 or 2012 until a week ago, the person who took that video, because there was audio, if there was audio, I don't know if there was, they were illegally wiretapping. So the idea that the cops can get your email without any kind of warrant, but if you videotape and audio record the cops beating the crap out of some dude, you're committing a crime, but the cops aren't. That's just absurd. I mean, come on.
Two things. The first is a lot of states have either the same law or very similar laws that forbid. Well, they still have the laws. They're just, not
unconstitutional.
It's clearly unconstitutional. But anyway.
The second, is, Anthony, you're making the case that an electronic transmission is somehow different than a physical transmission.
Well, I mean, first of all, a package. If you take a package that's addressed to you, that's sitting on your doorstep, that's not suspicious. I mean, you can figure out what's in that package pretty quickly. At least the police can. With tracking numbers and contacting the shipping company and the company. You can figure out what's in that package, and if it's not malicious, that package, if
okay, so
the house is abandoned, the package should be destroyed. And in the same way, if an email is left on a server and it's considered abandoned, it should be destroyed. If a voicemail is left on a whatever it's left on and it's abandoned, it should be destroyed. Communications that are private should be destroyed, not looked at.
Real quick, I'm getting fluctuating volume levels from Anthony. Is everyone else hearing that, or is it just me?
Just you.
Just you.
He's not going down and up on his volume?
Nope.
Okay, I just want to check that. Go ahead.
If, to use your analogy again, if there's this package that's been sitting on your front porch for 6 months after you moved out, could the police, and they suspect you of, let's just say they suspect you of dealing drugs, do they have a right to go up and take a look at the package and see where it claimed to be sent from? Do they have a right to look at the tracking numbers and see if they can get evidence from that tracking numbers?
Sure, but I think that they can look at the
trash. All you need to get a warrant is to show probable cause.
Right.
If you can't show probable cause, why are you looking there in the first place?
They can go through your trash.
Right, but again, I mean, if it's a package, right, and as long as they don't think there's a bomb in it, they should go through the proper channels, which, in my opinion, and I don't know officially what the proper channels are, but in my opinion, they should look at the tracking number, contact the shipping company, have the shipping company contact Amazon and see what's in the package. If there's nothing malicious in it, it should be destroyed. It shouldn't be opened. It's not theirs to handle. Or even better, they should get it back to you. But
it goes to a question that I don't think we necessarily have an answer to, and that is, how is abandoned property handled legally by the police? And I don't know the answer to that. And I don't have an answer to that. My understanding, however, is that the 86 law was supposed to reconcile how online property, and I'm going to use the term property in this case, was handled to bring it in line with how physical property was handled.
So, just to clarify, this is assuming that no one's logged on to that email account in 6 months, right? It's not just because it hasn't been looked at in 6 months, right?
Right, but the problem is the way the law was written and the way the technology worked at the time was that they assumed if files were sitting on a server that it was abandoned. They didn't take into account that files may be sitting on a server and still actively in use. They defined abandoned incorrectly, and I don't want to drag this out too much further. So
I would just make the point, Anthony, that even though I don't think I have anything that would be, bad, but if I have private messages on MySpace and I haven't been on there in 2 years, I don't want the police to just randomly be allowed to look at it because I haven't logged in 2 years. It should just, that data should be deleted because it's of no concern and there's no suspicion. So
you either do or don't have an expectation of privacy, and there's no time
limit. Well, you do have an
that.
Expectation of privacy on
right, but I'm saying there's no time limit. There's no asterisk, except if it's 6 months later.
Strongly agree with that.
Okay, so
at any rate, I do think we all agree on this point that the law needs to be changed. Yep. It's ridiculous the way it currently stands, and it's nonsense, and we'll move on.
Okay, so at 2:39 and 02, we're going to switch to Google. This is a story that the headline was Google keeps its word, Microsoft attacks. And what this is about is, I'm trying to remember.
It's about Microsoft's new ad campaign.
Yeah.
Microsoft's new ad attacking Google. These guys are pathetic. I'm sorry. You know, I use Microsoft products, but give me a break. They're beating up on Google constantly, and they're big funders and participants in this fairsearch.org outfit, this little clan, and it's just disgusting to me. You know, if they want to beat Google, build a search engine that doesn't suck. And people will use it. We all use Google because it doesn't suck. It's great, right? We don't use Lycos or WebCrawler or whatever. And so instead of actually, I mean, they make Apple Maps look good.
I got here by Alta Vista.
Alta Vista, absolutely, good for you. Alta Vista, the old days. But the bottom line is, they can't beat Google because they're too good at search. And so they're coming up with these ridiculous arguments that are just so full of crap. I don't know. It just makes me angry. And they're convinced.
Really,
I mean, they're laying out a groundwork so that the companies that like Kayak, whatever the hell they are, and other companies.
They're like Orbit.
Yeah,
or,
they're
Travelocity.
Orbit.
Yeah, they're a travel
aggregator.
Yeah. But Google owns Google.com. They own Google Plus. They own YouTube, and just like Walmart, they have a right to put whatever the hell they want on their shelf at eye level or on the bottom shelf. Nobody's bitching because Walmart has great value brand products right next to Del Monte. Nobody's bitching because 7-Eleven has their house brand of wine. Nobody complains about Target with their Market Fresh line, or whatever it is. That great spinach and goat cheese pizza that's flown in from Italy or whatever that's in Target for $5. And why are they all complaining about Google promoting their products on Google? And I just think it's disgusting. It's un-American, and Microsoft should be ashamed. And anybody who works there. Go ahead, Alan, please.
Other big point here. The big point is that Microsoft is excoriating Google for doing exactly what Microsoft is doing.
Exactly. That is exactly right.
Please elaborate with the specifics, since I'm obviously not taking my Ritalin today. I can't remember.
And Michael, do you think you can?
Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
I don't know if I can describe it well, but this is about one monopoly complaining about another monopoly that beat it out at a game it wanted to win in.
Right, and basically, what my take on this is happening is with the new Google Shopping system.
Yeah.
Google has said, "Hey, we have this new shopping component. In order to be part of it, you need to pay us."
Right.
And Microsoft is now saying, "Look, see, they're taking money for placement of commercial products, and Google keeps telling you they're never going to do that, and here they're doing it." And Google's saying, "Wait a minute, this has nothing to do with our search."
Right.
And
not about
fact,
search. It's a new product called Google Shopping.
It's a new product, and it's a product that Microsoft has been doing before. This is exactly what Microsoft's product equivalent is.
Right.
And that's exactly how Microsoft does it. So Microsoft is kind of pulling a bait and switch on their argument here. And they're saying, look, Google's taking payment for listing on search.
And then actually Google, when it's actually a sponsored result in the search, it actually shows on the top of that it's a sponsored result. But Microsoft actually does not display that.
Right. So, this is a pretty classic Microsoft tactic of fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yep.
And they're being smacked around, at least among Googlers. The problem is people hear these arguments and they don't realize, they don't hear the full set of facts. And Google is not always good in responding to them. So we'll see how this plays out. Moving on.
Okay, at 2:44:04, I am going to. I've got some thoughts on this next topic, This is an interesting one. Google has lost a case in Australia. I don't know what the appellate process is. If this is the done deal, or if they're going to appeal, I imagine the latter. A defamation case. Someone argued that they were defamed on Google, and the court ruled that Google is a publisher. In the same way that in one of my newspapers, if I printed,
to be clear, Dan,
yes,
they
please.
weren't the defamation itself didn't take place on Google. It took place on another page that Google indexed and linked to.
Okay, so this gets to but Google is in effect. I guess they could argue that that's like Google. That's like one of my newspapers printing an Associated Press article that contained defamatory.
Yes, exactly.
Would I be responsible?
Yes.
So here's the question. I want your initial thoughts on this, but the argument against this, or the argument against this is that Google is a free service and links to, if legitimate links are out there, like the famous Santorum Google issue, and we're not gonna discuss it unless Pam, wants to.
No, not gonna discuss it.
Even that one's too rough for Pam. But if you Google the Rick Santorum's Google problem, you'll find the disgusting topic I'm alluding to here, in a pure grab for ratings. But the thing is, here's the question: if Google will freely alter their algorithm to demote sites like Ask.com and these content farms that create just crap content just to get SEO and to sell ads. If they can do it for that, if as a prank or a legitimate mistake, I set up a bunch of sites so that when you typed in axe murderer, Pam's picture came up. Pam would be pissed, right? You'd be upset. If they can alter the algorithm,
and now I know where you live.
Correct. If they alter, you know where my mailbox is, my buffer box.
We know where your newspapers are.
But if they can alter the algorithm, and then I'll shut up and we'll go to whoever. If they can alter the algorithm to for the convenience of the consumer, using Google, and demote the content farms and things of that nature, the spam sites, why can't they alter it to prevent someone from being falsely labeled something bad just by virtue of their name?
Because they're going to the wrong place. They're going to the wrong place. They should be going to the host of that page. They shouldn't be going to the company that's the search engine that's indexing these pages as it sees fit. If I search for John Smith and Google deems that that page is relevant, whether or not the content on it is relevant or not, Google should be indexing it. They should be contacting the host.
There's part of your answer though. Google publishes things based on relevancy. They don't publish things based on truth or defamation.
Right. They aggregate original content from other providers and provide it to the consumer. And so they're not publishing.
Here's the thing.
Alan, I would disagree with you. They don't. They do list them as truth, in that this really is the thing that most sites are linking to, be it right or wrong. Right?
But that's not truth.
The truth.
That's popularity.
That's popularity and relevancy.
And just because I create an article and a headline and everything doesn't make it truth.
Obviously. Look at the last election.
Now this is Australia.
But wait a minute. So wait.
Sour grapes from Mike Ellis.
Who is Google to decide what is truth? I mean, if we're going to go back to the philosophical greats, I mean, even Plato and Socrates struggled with what is truth. I think Google is going to have a very hard time like figuring out what is truth, because what is truth to Pam is very different than what is truth to me and what is truth to Dan.
And Google doesn't Google doesn't care about truth. They care about relevancy.
And they shouldn't. And the court made a big, huge mistake here, because someone else created this content. Google just brought it to someone's attention.
Here's the thing.
They didn't say that this lady or guy or whatever was.
Here's the thing. This is Australia, so I don't know Australian press rules, but we have to remember Rupert Murdoch got his start there. What we don't. Thank you. Somebody got the joke. We don't know.
That was a dig just then.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
We don't know what their press laws are, and it very well could be that a publisher may not necessarily need to be responsible for telling the truth or not. They may be, however, liable for defaming somebody, even if you're defaming them with the truth.
Right, but Google's not a publisher. It is a collector.
Well, how does that differ from...
Aggregator.
We'll use the term aggregate. We'll use the term... How does that differ from a publisher?
Define publisher, Pam.
Because a publisher takes someone else's works, edits it, pays them for it.
Doesn't necessarily pay them, but keep going.
There's a contract between the publisher and the author to provide that content to the public.
Pam, if I published a newspaper exactly like Google News, I said on page 1, here's a list of the Washington Post headlines from yesterday.
Right.
And I had the first couple sentences from each, right?
So
and then on page 2, there's the New York Times. I had every article.
Wait, no.
Would I not be
here's
publishing?
How it's different. Yes, but here's how it's different, okay? Google responds to the consumer. The consumer types in what they want, and Google returns all of the things that it finds. It doesn't make any kind of, there's no closed system. It's an open system. Whereas your newspaper is a closed system. There's only so much content on that page, right? There's only the content that you allowed there. That makes you the publisher. Whereas the consumer is actually the publisher in this case, because they're the ones that are bringing that content to them.
Pam, here's the thing. A Google search result is in some ways a closed system. It doesn't give you every page on the internet. It just gives you every page on the internet that it thinks you want.
But it's what I'm the one that typed in Joe Blow is an asshole, right? I'm the one that did that.
Can we say that on Google?
I don't know.
Too late. It's okay.
The problem is that you go to Google and you tell them to take down the page. You go to Microsoft and you tell them to take down the page. You go to Lycos and every other search engine and you tell them to take down the page, but the page is still there. I just had it now.
You go to Pam and you tell her to take that back.
Because you're still frozen.
Yeah, I can't do that.
But
you tell her time traveled. It's 10 seconds ago.
You need to go to the host and you need to tell the host that of it, because otherwise, you tell you could tell every single search engine to get rid of it, but that doesn't even necessarily make it unfindable anymore, because social networks and word of mouth or whatever. You need to talk to the host.
Yeah, let's segue with this comment.
We have this comment from George. The question is this: is Google more like a phone book, or is Google more like a personal assistant? And well, I guess that's a related question. Can you sue the personal assistant for defaming you if they pass on information?
The bottom line is Google is, when I said they're in the business of truth, if someone said, Alan, in the park today, what were people's, who did they think was going to win the election, or who did they think shot J.R. Ewing, and you came back and you correctly informed me the most, common answer, you're telling me the truth. That is the most common answer. And if that answer is wrong, is it my fault? You asked me a question. You said, who shot JR? And I told you the most common response. And it's not my fault if that response ends up being untrue. I'm not writing it. I'm simply telling you this is the most commonly linked to site. You know, I think they're accurately presenting that.
But it's more complicated than that, because they're not just giving you the most commonly linked to site. They're giving you what they think is the most relevant site.
True, because they do have an algorithm. It's not purely numbers. It was initially, and then they tweaked it.
I think,
you know,
and I think that's kind of what the court was getting at. Mind you, let me be clear. I think the court's wrong, but I think where the court was going with this is that the algorithm that Google has come up with, in some ways, is acting the same as the algorithm that an editor of a newspaper might use when they try to determine what goes into the newspaper.
Do you think, back to my initial question, or initial analogy, they do tweak the algorithm. It's not purely numbers. It's not this is the most linked to site. If the site's a spam site or it's a content farm, it gets demoted. They do have the ability, and they have a history of doing this. So is it, and I can't stand Rick Santorum, I think is a Neanderthal. But to use that as the most graphic example, literally.
Yeah, okay, you really want to use that as an example.
But if they will demote ask.com and they'll demote a spam site, is it unreasonable for someone who is, you know, Pam's picture comes up as the axe murderer, Rick Santorum is this disgusting thing. Is it unreasonable for them to be able to say, hey, listen, I also am not, you know, this, and can you take it off? And they say no. Is that fair? Is that reasonable?
I think the problem comes into what position are you putting Google in to judge the truth? When it comes to a spam farm, they're not trying to judge the truth of the spam. They're trying to judge whether this page has any real relevant content to what you're asking about. If you do a search, if I do a search for axe murderers, to use your example, and since Pam is in my circles, they might say, oh, wait a minute, here's a person in his circles, and here's somebody talking about axe murderers, and maybe there's some relevancy here. Then yes, I can see how Google might put those together, because it's not trying to judge the truth of it. If I'm doing a search for spam, is Google going to return a spam farm? Well, that might be a legitimate thing for it to return.
Yeah, you could argue, you know, what's the worst content farm? And they would give you, you know, one of these sites. This actually, my Pam is an axe murderer analogy is not far off in this case, because you've got this case, you got the actual case we're discussing. They ruled that Google's responsible for having published search results leading to a defamatory page which contained rumors that Michael, unpronounceable last name, a music promoter, was linked to murder and organized crime. Google argued that it's not responsible for offensive material that others host on the web, a defense that's been met with mixed results internationally. And so, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where this is going to...
Here's another thought, and I'm going to leave this as the final thought, I think.
Please.
What if it was a newspaper that published the information about him being an axe murderer? What's the difference between a newspaper publishing it and a web page publishing it?
All Google is saying, if I say Pam's an axe murderer, I'm in trouble.
But Google didn't create the web page. It only brought it to the customer's attention when they typed it in search.
Correct. If I say Pam's an axe murderer, which we all know.
If you type in Pam's an axe murderer into Google and hit search and it pulls up a page, then someone created a page with that content.
There may actually be a causal thing
that's
here.
Who I should go after.
Now with the new transcription, I've said like 17 times Pam's...
Are you looking to see if
I'm thinking,
do you think they're just...
See, there's a second test going on here. No.
Yeah, I don't see it in the top list. Although there is something about woman now in mental facility charged with 2 murders.
No, if I say Pam's an axe murderer, then I'm defaming Pam, right? Because it's not true. I have no proof that she
I don't know.
isn't,
I
in
think
fact,
that's
an
a
axe
compliment.
murderer. Of course, I have
And
no
you just
proof
admitted
that
that
she
you
isn't.
defamed me online.
Right. So, wait, I'm publicly saying something. I hope the police are not stalking. Okay, but here's the thing. If I said that Sarik said Pam was an axe murderer, and he did, and I can prove it, I haven't defamed her, right? I've said the truth.
That's right. That's right.
I've attributed it, and that's what Google's saying. They're saying that this site says this. And they got two sentences, and if the site doesn't want to be in Google, they can put their cookie down or whatever.
Right. And who I should go after is Shriek, because he's the one that told you.
I think we're all in agreement.
Okay, so that's awesome.
But,
haven't you seen the
it all
Beck
depends
website?
on who has the most money. And I suspect that in this case, they're going after Google because Google has more money than whoever published the original content.
Well, here's the funny thing. Apparently, according to the article, they went after Yahoo last, and they won even more money from Yahoo.
Oh.
All right,
So, yeah.
another controversy. Google's driverless cars, there are some morality issues.
This is a good story.
Okay, go ahead. Give us...
Monica raised this one first. Monica, do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, so somebody pointed out that if the driverless cars are so efficient and actually end up saving so many more lives, there could come a day in the future in which we might not be able to drive at all. Because if we are actually so much worse at driving than the driverless cars, then you could see legislation being introduced that basically says we might not be able to drive.
Am I the only one losing Monica?
Am I? Sorry, every time I open a story to talk about it, I cut out.
You were flicking in and out a little bit there. I didn't know if it was me or you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. You can proceed. So they're afraid that Google, if this takes off, there will be the natural comparison that a car that's driven by a computer with sensors and stuff is going to be safer. And Vic Indotra famously did that TV ad for Mercedes because he was being inattentive or whatever, and his car, he was about to rear end somebody, and the car sensed that and stopped by itself, and saved his life and potentially saved his life and the life or lives of the people in the other vehicle. So that could be. This is an interesting concept. I could see this down the road, right? They could grandfather it in. I have no problem.
Here's the interesting moral dilemma here, and that is if there's going to be. Let us hypothesize that every car is a driverless car, and they all communicate with each other perfectly, and they are all working together to make sure that everyone is safe. What happens if there is a circumstance that causes a problem?
Like a kid running out into the road.
A kid running out into the road.
I would think that a computer's senses would be vastly superior to a human's, right? Especially as we have more distractions. I mean, come on, we're sitting here, we got this going on, and we're driving.
It's going to be vastly superior, but in some cases, the car is going to have to make a decision about how to react. It's going to say, hey, can I brake in time? If I brake, is the car behind me going to hit me? Or should I swerve? Is that safer? And sometimes there's going to be a situation where all of your possible choices will cause injury.
But all of the cars behind you will stop. Your car stops. We just saw this. I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was this epic crash with like 40 vehicles. And like anytime there's a crash on the Autobahn, oh my God, it's rough because it's so fast. But if all the in this scenario you provide, where they're all driverless cars, right?
Right.
Then presumably the cars are going to be a safe distance back, so they will not be closer to a vehicle than they could stop if that one slams on the brakes. They would all down the line stop.
That's not necessarily true, though, is the problem.
They're all independent computers, though, right?
You see,
they're not relying on Comcast not going down. They're all independent things with GPS or what have you.
Here's that under some circumstances, things could happen that will necessitate somebody being hurt. And the question becomes, how do these systems all simultaneously coordinate who gets hurt?
So the interesting thing is, assuming that all the vehicles on the road are driverless cars.
Yes,
for the moment.
We're making a lot of assumptions, but
assuming a kid runs out into the road, under an ideal situation where normally, if that car swerved, it would go into oncoming traffic and hit oncoming traffic. An interesting scenario would be that since they're all communicating with each other under a scenario, the car in the oncoming lane comes to a complete stop, and now there's room in the opposite lane for the car to swerve into, and now you've prevented an accident. Now,
the problem though is
going into the scenario where it has to hit that kid or create damage, it's going to pick the scenario ideally where the least amount of physical damage is going to be done to humans.
Right, and that's a moral decision.
But that is a moral decision, but under ideal circumstances, it's going to pick the least human physical damage, and if it can go into a tree and not cause physical damage to the driver, it's going to do that. But if it has to hit that kid, that's going to be theoretically the best decision to make. So it's not. It
does end up being a moral decision.
It is a moral decision, but it's
somebody somewhere had to program it with that moral decision. That's where it gets complicated and messy.
So the question is,
turns into who is now liable for making the wrong decision.
Well, I mean, you look at the accident afterwards and see if it was the best decision that could have been made, and if it is, then unfortunately, someone got injured or killed.
We're getting off track.
If it wasn't
here.
No. This is exactly the track. This is exactly the point.
It's like any machine that kills somebody. You go to the manufacturer and they're going to get sued and they're going to have insurance and blah blah blah. But we're getting away from it. This isn't about some blind. This isn't about some blind dude getting tacos. The leading cause of death for young people. This was the case 20 years ago. I don't know if it's the case today, but it's one of the leading causes of death of young people is alcohol-related auto accidents. And if they can, humans are flawed. We're distracted. We're more distracted now than ever with all of our gadgets.
Dan, stop. Let me take you right there. Humans are flawed. That means the people who are programming these computers are flawed. That means our machines are flawed as well.
Machines are not perfect, and these things will get. I mean, they're in their infancy now, and they're going to get better. But the bottom line is that if they can do this, I have no problem if they phase these in mandatorily, down the road.
And they're going to kill a lot less people than.
Yeah, you're way safer. Look, there's autopilot for airplanes. You can make the same argument against autopilot for airplanes. Who's responsible if the plane crashes when it's on autopilot? Come on.
Who is responsible?
My opinion is, and I don't know if this is politically...
Let's talk about the Airbus accident. Let's talk about the Airbus accident if you really want to.
There's autopilot, but I see what Alan is saying. And I've been reading, I love to read books about neurology. And there's an interesting puzzle that's posited in one of the books that I've been reading about neurology, in which it says that one of the classic puzzles that they give people when they're scanning their brains is they say that if you're standing and you're witnessing, say you're witnessing a train car that's going off the rails, and you could choose to direct the course of this train car, and you could forcibly choose to direct it so that it kills, like if you choose to switch the track and direct the car so that it kills 5 people, and you choose the course so that it goes one way, and it kills 5 people that are standing on that track. Or if it goes another way, the way that it was originally intended, it will run into a building where there's a lot of explosive, and that building will blow up and it will kill 100 people. And it's on that track already, and it's going to do that and kill 100 people unless you redirect it and willingly kill those 5 people. what do you do?
You know what? I know that this is going to be extremely politically incorrect, but I am always for.
You're always silenced at the.
Now we have the video, but not the audio.
You know,
Go ahead.
If these cars can statistically save one life every year.
Anthony, we lost you at I am always.
Look, this is a basic triage argument. I mean, these decisions are made all the time. Has anyone seen MASH? You know, you have.
I have.
You have 50
that type of puzzle.
You have 50 wounded come in, and you've got 6 doctors, and you got to make a decision.
I mean,
you're in 9/11. You're in the rubble. And you got to make decisions. You know,
you drop a bomb and you end a war, or you continue and lose 50,000 more people.
I mean, the guy with the broken arm, you set aside. The guy with his head severed off, you have to decide. How much time do we have?
You can't program that thinking into a computer.
I don't know.
That sort of thing.
I mean, it's like I said, it's these computers are going to pick the situation that they believe is going to create the least, mortalities.
You can't program those sorts of.
Can I please say something?
Sri, last word.
Okay, I think it's still a long way. It can happen tomorrow, of course, but long is relatively measured according to you're measuring the nanoseconds or whatever, parseconds. What I'm saying is, there will come a tipping point when human beings actually discover or find a way to actually create self-teaching intelligent machines. We are still a long way away from that, but after that, just like how you have computers right now, which again, as Alan said, are programmed by flawed people as well. People are fundamentally flawed, right? I mean, we are not perfect. So there will come a day when we will have machines which are flawed and which are not. And that will be an entirely different war. But that's got nothing to do with what you saw in Judgment Day.
I want to end this by saying, I know that people probably have not read the article. Go read the article. It is actually a really, really good article that discusses a lot of the issues that we've just begun to touch on here. Go read the article. Maybe we'll have another hangout at another time to discuss this. But the article does raise some interesting points. It does make you think about what's going on. Agree or disagree, and I think we are all more or less in agreement that driverless cars are good things. It raises some interesting questions, and I think they're questions that do need to be discussed.
All right, so it's not just link bait. Actually, read. Okay. So tech employees funded Obama significantly more than Romney. I would think that after SOPA, this is a no-brainer, right? These guys, the SOPA, I mean, there are people who, I don't know. I just, I'm sorry, the Earth isn't 6,000 years old, and these people are on the science committee. I mean, I don't get it. This is why they lost the election in large part. Also, Orca was a major fail, and with an election that was fairly close, there's all sorts of reasons.
He brings up the Orca issue, actually. This is an article posted by Nate Silver, where he goes and does some analysis about donations to the various political campaigns. And it's not even just that there was more donations to Obama from than Romney from the tech community, from some major companies in the tech community. There was massively more. I mean, on the order of, you look at Netflix, for example, $27,000 was donated to Obama, $250 was donated to Romney. It's basically,
okay, are you serious?
Yes.
That's worse than that. That's almost as bad as those precincts in New Jersey where Romney got 0 votes.
Looking at Google, where did Google go? Google, 719,000 donated to Obama, 25,000 to Romney. That's 97% of the money from Google employees. These are not from the companies; they are from the employees.
Well, let me ask you a question, Alan. I'll offer my answer, which I already sort of alluded to. In my opinion, and we have, I think, Mike Ellis and Anthony, who are conservatives, Pam and is not a conservative. Sreek is not a conservative. I guarantee you, Monica's not a conservative. Alan is agnostic, but in my opinion,
agnostic's the right term.
On politics, or publicly agnostic, privately whatever. But in my opinion, it's because of things like net neutrality, where President Obama has clearly staked out his position. He's in favor of it, and he's nominated, FCC commissioners who, believe that. And the Republicans are mixed, but generally not as receptive to the notion. And on issues like that, I think technology is much akin. It's science, right? And the Republican Party are not awash with scientists. Those are my theories. So I guess we'll start with Sreek because he's literally raising his hand. Go ahead, Sreek. Give us some of your propaganda that you dish out on us on a daily basis. What do you think? What's the reason that tech employees will be more inclined to donate to President Obama than to Governor Romney?
That statement actually falsely implies or gives an idea that tech employees are kind of, as you said, very scientific, and scientists. I actually claimed this before, and I had an argument with Anthony, but it's not really true. I have a lot of tech employees who are fundamentally Republican. But having said that, you have to understand that if from an immigration point of view, Republican Party does way better than Democratic Party in the U.S. Last week, actually, Obama, actually it was this week, I think, blocked a resolution for immigration, which actually is against most of the tech employees who come here on a temporary or a permanent basis to work. Now, having said that,
I don't know if I agree with that. That's in certain states, like in Arizona, but you got to give them a pass. 80% of the illegal immigrants pass through Arizona, right? Yeah. So, and I was talking to my uncle about this because he lived in Arizona for a number of years, and some of his family lives there. And I was asking him about this. If you're having to pay taxes to have police officers deal with this constantly, I could see how you'd have a jaded view. If you're in Massachusetts, our immigration system is broken, but
no. I'm not even getting into the immigration debate. All I'm just saying is, for the tech employees, U.S. having a much easier immigration procedure.
But I think Republicans are coming around.
No, Republicans are actually better. Republicans are actually better.
I think they want, even Rupert Murdoch said, he tweeted, of course he's an emigre, right? Even he tweeted after the election, he said, we've got to have comprehensive immigration reform. This is the guy who owns Fox News Channel, right? He said, we've got to have comprehensive immigration reform. He said, these are hardworking people. Most are family people. Republicans realize the nation is not going to deport 12 million people.
That's impossible.
And the dumbest thing he ever said, Romney, was, they should self-deport. Come on. We have a disastrous situation, and Republicans realize this. If you're trying to get a programmer in JavaScript, the reason we're going to China, I've done this. I've had developers overseas in India and in Pakistan, and I lived in both countries, and I loved both countries, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Having to deal with the communications barrier, the cultural communications barrier. In other words, they speak English, but kind of, sort of, and it's a pain in the ass. But you can't. How many people can I find locally who can do what I need? And we realize, the Republicans realize this. They realize you're not going to deport 12 million people. You're not going to deport some person who has kids and grandkids who are legal citizens because they were born here. You're not going to deport some kid who was brought here at 1 year of age and has lived here for 20 years and doesn't even maybe know that he's an illegal. You know, come on. I mean, the party's advanced on that. They may not admit it, and some of the crazies, the Michelle Bachmans out there who are just on Mars, they don't realize it, but most people realize it. You know, I mean, you can't pigeonhole. Even
but the worst part, though,
go ahead.
Why is Michelle Bachmann even being given a voice? Why does she have a microphone?
Because she ran and she got X number of votes and got money, and she met the threshold to be in the debates. And there's nothing wrong with allowing different people to participate in the debates. Go ahead, Alan.
This is a technology show, and I want to steer this back to technology. One of the things that I think addresses your point, Sreek, is that note that this was an analysis done against tech companies, not necessarily against people who work with technology. Most of the given your location, most of the people you know who work with technology, I'm guessing, are probably not in the technology industry.
Not anymore.
Well, don't you think that based on the fact? I mean, look, who do you think, Alan? Who's more tech friendly, Barack Obama or Mitt Romney? Obviously,
what do you mean by tech friendly?
I mean, who would advance policies and approve sign bills that would be friendly to the tech sector?
Let me tell you, both.
It's odd though. You'd think that it would be Romney, right? Because a lot of these are big money companies.
Both Democrats and Republicans were equally bad in pushing SOPA, whatever it is.
Right.
Yes.
Both were equally bad. So
because they're stupid, they didn't really read it, and then then when the truth came out that this is bad,
you could have stopped with they're stupid.
Yeah.
You know, we've had.
I want to add something to this because I think the answer to your question is more simplistic than that, and maybe it's my sour grapes coming through, but I don't think so. Most of the technology companies in the country are centralized along California.
California. Keep going.
So that is naturally a much more liberal area, and I can tell you, having lived in San Francisco for 3 years recently, that the people there are vastly liberal, and that's why they supported Obama. It has nothing to do with them being tech companies.
Michael Ellis, I bet you never leave your house, not even to eat. You have everything brought in.
So Michael, before you answer him, let me point out that that's one of the things that Silver says in the article. Is he actually goes and looks at voting patterns of the nation, California, the Bay Area in general, and San Francisco specifically, and he shows how that's evolved over the past number of years and how they've bucked national trends in some ways.
Right. And then I just want to add something. There is a general trend among the younger population and a huge number of technology workers or tech workers, or however you want to put them. They are, if you look at the percentage, I'm betting that there's a lot of young people who are tech workers, right? I'm not saying young is subjective.
Keep going. Finish your thought.
Right. So I'm saying the amount of people who support Obama, if you look at the percentage of population in the US, it's high. So if you look at tech population who voted for or gave funds for Obama, will automatically be high.
Sreek, do this.
I see what you're saying. It's an age thing, not.
We got to get Sreek to do this.
There are multiple.
He's got this wild hair thing going.
There are multiple factors. Yeah.
Yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, Nate Silver is this genius who accurately predicted almost every state down to the, decimal point on the election, and he was criticized, and then of course kicked butt. And for anyone who wants a great meme, Google drunk Nate Silver. There was somebody tweeted something, and then John Herman from BuzzFeed played it up, and then it became a meme, and it was like, drunk Nate Silver is on the subway pointing at people, telling them when they're going to die. Drunk Nate Silver points at a star and it explodes. It's this epic meme that happened. So I would encourage you to do that. So yeah, I think it's interesting that tech employees. It's unusual that you wouldn't think employees of big money corporations, geography notwithstanding, as Michael Ellis pointed out, but I think it's it doesn't fit into the standard what you would think. I don't know, and especially to have that dramatic of a level of support.
I mean, I completely agree with what Mike said. But if the technology population across the country actually is more liberal, then I would also highly, as I said, attribute it to age.
Okay,
I would agree with it to a point. I think one of the things to look at, though, is, we're also talking some well-established companies that were on the list. Although, looking at the list, even some older ones like Intel and Cisco were on the list, although not as strongly supporting. You have a fairly good point there.
Okay, let's go to Kyle, who's just joined us. In general, and then I want to talk hamburgers with you real quick before we go to our last official topic. But why do you think tech employees, unguided by their companies or whatever, arguably so, why do you think they would be more likely to have supported President Obama than Mitt Romney, and dramatically so, according to a survey by Nate Silver, who obviously has game in analyzing numbers?
Well, I would say I caught the tail end of that conversation, but Michael's point made the most sense to me, is that it's in California. Most of them are, and that's the population there is very blue, if you will. So to me, it's just about as simple as that. I mean, maybe they're more college degrees. I don't know exactly what the answer is. I don't know that I have all that much to add. But
last question to Kyle, and then we can move.
Go
ahead, Monica.
I did see several articles this week about the disparity of the people voting Democratic are in higher population areas with higher population density, and the Bay Area is an area with higher population density.
Oh, that's traditional. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you always find cities with a higher population are more open to new ideas, more liberal, more progressive, and the rural areas are more stagnant and
institutions.
That's worldwide. You'll see that. Kyle, on issues like net neutrality, right? SOPA. Do you think that? I assume you are against SOPA, and I assume you're for net neutrality. I'm going to go out on a limb here, but Kyle, in general, on those specific issues, do you think that President Obama or Governor Romney would have been more friendly to your position on those key issues?
Oof, that's a good question. I guess the fiscally conservative theory you would hope that they would government would stay out of the way as best as they can, but that's not necessarily. I know that Republicans were really seem to be pushing things like SOPA much harder than the liberals were. So I don't know exactly. I don't think it's something. I mean, you saw how quickly it kind of became a moot point when the internet rose together and fought it. So I don't think it's anything that's going to change quickly as far as legislation is concerned.
Fought it with facts.
Right, absolutely. And so, I mean, the internet's a strong community, and when you upset them,
yeah. To set the record straight, my party was wrong on that issue.
What I'm getting at, Michael, I think Michael, you've figured it out. It is your geographic point notwithstanding. I think there's more to it than just that. I think it's like, this part, all these companies who want to start, and then we'll go to Sreek for last word on this topic. All of these companies who are trying to be trendsetters and trying to come up with the next Netflix, the next Google, the next whatever, are thinking, this one party is open to allowing us, to do this unfettered, and the other party is, getting a bunch of donations from these companies and trying to lock down the legacy companies and force us to have to pay for the access that they enjoy, and which would you know, be a disaster. I mean, if net neutrality wasn't, Sarik, you are totally like loud.
Sorry.
That's okay. But if net neutrality wasn't sort of the way it is now, you couldn't start the next Netflix on a shoestring. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's just geography. Sarik, you had a point you wanted to make, and then we can move on to our warning and then our final thoughts.
Just a reply to what Kyle said. Senator Harry Reid is one of the primary sponsors of SOPA. And he's a Democrat, right?
I didn't know that. I know that my congressman, who I've known for 20 years, and I'm going to talk to him about it next time I see him, his wife was around. I was going to beat him up on it, but his wife was around. But he is the co-author of SOPA.
And his argument was that it's a job creation initiative.
He's full of shit. Okay, so
can we say that on the air?
I guess after Pam, who knows?
Okay. Pam sets the standards.
All right, so we all agree. SOPA bad, Google good. Okay, we have an outage Monday night. This is kind of like blown out of proportion, isn't it, Alan? Everyone's freaking out, issuing warnings, and here we are doing the same thing. For a few hours on Monday night, YouTube is upgrading, and
Hangouts on Air will not work, and there's no other notice that Hangouts on Air won't work. You're gonna, the problem is people are going to try to start a Hangout on Air, and it'll look like it'll work, and their recordings won't get recorded.
You think with this much notice, we hope that they'll like have some kind of thing.
They won't
posted that says this is going to happen, or they're just going to say.
Wait a second. Google gave a notice that it's going. I didn't get the news.
Okay, here's a prediction. Forced prediction. I'm John McLaughlin. Starting with Alan, I'm going to go down the line. How many of you guys think Google is going to put up some kind of commonsensical warning telling and get rid of the start a Hangout button and say like Hangouts are temporarily disabled? Alan, do you think they're going to do that user-friendly thing, or do you think everyone's going to be confused?
Dan, I know they won't because I already spoke to Dory about it, and she said they won't.
Well, that's reassuring. Anthony, well, I guess there's no point in doing the survey, right?
I guarantee you they will.
Right. They will?
I'm excited because Anthony has video and audio, and they're in sync. Dory, did you ask Dory why they're not going to do that? Why they're going to have a start a Hangout button that's broken and they know weeks in advance that it's not going to work?
Because they haven't hooked up the they don't have the technology right now to disable it.
God.
Welcome to Google, right? Ladies and gentlemen.
And these people are building our driverless cars.
I don't understand.
These are the people responsible for our driverless cars.
How hard is it to comment start a on-air Hangout button?
Anthony, it's really complicated on Google's scale.
How come, like, Mercedes can make your car stop when someone randomly slams on the brakes in front of you, and Google can't remove a button with a week's notice?
Do you remember the little animations in the early days of the internet where it was like site under construction, and they could put a little animated like construction GIF, and it was like site under construction, come back soon. That was the first thing you do when you were building a web page.
We should have a contest.
Why can't they do that?
We should have a contest for the worst, like 1990s looking ghetto ass web page, right?
Yeah,
and
to
like with all that crap with animated GIF,
with the animated Hangout under construction, come back soon.
We need to merge that epic, the Googles from the 1960s, where it says like allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery, merge that with, oh my gosh. Okay. So I guess we are officially done with our topics.
We have a couple of comments that I wanted to bring
up. Go ahead, do the
here.
comments, and then we'll do our final thoughts from everybody.
Yep. We had this comment from a good, hour or two ago from George Cozy. So Google should concentrate on integrating its users and its systems. Yes, yes, yes!
You think? All right, let's...
And finally, we have this one from Kevin, and I always like it when they say, Alan is right. And I just want to point out that he says, Alan is right. Blogger is very close in use case to Google+, so it makes little sense for it not to be first in line to tie in seamlessly with Google+. It's bizarre. It's not bizarre, Kevin. It's Google!
Kevin said that Alan was right. Kevin is obviously needs to step away from the alcohol.
Let's get this correct. Alan is right.
That one's going to get played several times.
Oh yeah. All right. Let's begin with Sreek Menon in New Jersey. Your governor has record high approval ratings. He's going to coast. I did an intro to an article that's in the paper today about the Virginia and New Jersey governor's races, or mainly about Virginia. But I made the comment that Chris Christie will likely coast to re-election. Is that accurate?
I think so.
Yeah, he's got like a 77% approval rating.
He just announced, he announced this week actually that he was going to run for re-election.
Yeah. And all eyes are going to be on Virginia. What's interesting about this, Sreek?
Here's the thing: how many politicians out there, even governors or whoever, is at the moment even considered half as capable as Chris Christie? So,
you're a Democrat talking about him, and he's a Republican. So that's saying something,
I
right?
I may not agree with many of his positions, but I think he's a good governor.
He's no BS. He says what he thinks. He thinks what he says. Sometimes with varying degrees of effect.
Sometimes there is a problem with that, but I'm saying, and it may not go well for him in the national scene if he ever thinks about that. But at the end of the day, I'm okay. I mean, I'm always comparing with the previous guy, Corsino, whatever his name is. So
he also has some Teflon, right? Remember when he got criticized for the helicopter trip? I think he took a state helicopter to his son's baseball game or something at school, and it was probably like a $50,000 ride, and he basically attacked the media for covering it, and
let me tell you
all's
this.
forgotten, right? You got some wild hair going on tonight. I think
your hair is getting better and
only
better.
Ronnie Benser has you beat.
A quick note on Governor Christie. There's only one person in New Jersey who could give Christie a run for his money, and he can actually do a really good job at giving Christie a run for his money.
The Newark mayor.
Cory Booker. You got it. Because Cory has also come out of it looking really good. He went into it looking really good.
Right. That would be a good fight.
It would be a good fight, but you know what? It boils down to, for a re-election, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I don't think there's a bunch of people who think that he's doing a bad job. Even among Republicans or Democrats, he has a way above 50% approval rating. I mean, it's as good as it gets. I think his disapproval is like in the low teens. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Sreek, stop with the hair because you're not making it any better.
Yeah. Okay, Sreek.
I don't know what to do with it. So I think it's growing again like I used to have earlier. Yeah. Anyway.
Final thoughts on this wonderful Google Plus week. Tell us.
For a relatively new Indian, I'm pretty aware of American politics, especially New Jersey, if I may add. Anyway, so, what was that? I'm wondering when is Ingress, or whatever it's called, gonna come to iOS so that I can actually start asking in Google Plus for somebody for, the code, or whatever it is, activation code.
Well, my guess is that it won't show up on iOS until it leaves closed beta.
All right. Okay. Well, I had a fun time with trolling Pam and Susan Ramhatter the other day.
What day are we up to with the cow?
69.
This is a really funny meme that Sreek started out with that got carried away in comments. It was one of the funniest things I read on Google Plus Week this week.
I invited you guys.
Tell us what it's about. Explain it.
Well, there is this big. It's a cow or a bull? I think it's the bull, right?
There's a difference.
Of course, there is a difference. So he is sitting in the living room, and there's a guy sitting over there. He's like a cowboy mostly, and then it's a cow starts this day 62 or day 52. The humans don't know that I'm not a dog yet, or whatever, something like that. So then Pam commented on that, saying, "What the hell?" So then I started off saying that day 63, the lady in the house just called me hell. So anybody who commented on that, I would say day 64, day 65, like that, and making fun of them.
Are you talking about the alpaca and the sheep picture, day 46.
No, Sreek, go find the post and screen share it.
Okay, we'll do that.
Anyway, meanwhile, we'll move on to Michael while you're looking for it.
Sure.
Well, I have two things this week to mention. Well, one is the comment Dan just made about if it ain't broke, don't fix it is the election rule in New Jersey. The national rule is if it is broke, don't fix it. I just had to say that. And the second thing is, did anybody else see the Internet Explorer ad that Microsoft came out with?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I shared that. That was, what did you think of that? That was kind of crazy.
I laughed like crazy. I thought it was great.
They were making fun of the whole,
they were making fun
I guess
of
the
themselves.
mini meme that Internet Explorer sucks and the only purpose for it is to download Chrome or some other browser, but they didn't say Chrome. But Chrome is now the leader, I think, right?
Yeah.
That I just share the screenshot if you want to show.
Oh my God. Humans have
Wait,
no
let
idea.
me go back to. Holy smoke! Yeah, hold on, Michael. We got you beat, buddy.
Yeah,
All
that
right,
one
this,
trumps me.
Yeah, the other one was day 46, and there's a sheep picture with a bunch of alpacas. Like,
Right. Yeah, I like these day jokes. You know, it's funny.
It is funny.
That's funny.
What's
Yes.
even funnier though is really the conversation, the comments after it
Yeah.
were hysterical. Go find Sreek's post.
Yeah, can one of you guys, Sri, can you add in the topic document? Can you add your the link to that post since we've talked about it here,
right,
so
then.
folks can know what we're talking about. But that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a large bovine. Okay, what was? Did you do both, or you still got a second one, Michael?
No, I covered both.
Okay, and Monica, what was anything cool that you learned or were thinking about this week?
No, I guess I am peacefully awaiting the takeover from our robot car overlords.
Ever the optimist, and
Yeah.
Monica. Circle if you haven't, but you likely have already. So, awesome. And I've never been recognized from this. Maybe I should walk around with like a blue like those this old jackets that sports guys used to wear on TV where they have the logo.
With
I
a
got a
big
Google
blazer
Plus Week logo.
You need to be in a tech town, Dan.
I think so. I don't know. Michael Ellis makes it look pretty scary. Being in a tech town. Kyle, what was some cool stuff that you were thinking about this week?
Oh, it's kind of a slow week for me. But
Hey, tell
I
me
did
about the
today.
burgers.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I
Yeah.
learned from Dan that the best burger joint in Colombia, where I live, was severely affected by the Hostess closing. that
Oh,
they
this
had
is
to
worse
switch
than
to
Sandy
Sara
or
Lee.
Katrina or anything, right? This is a big deal.
Apparently it was. So I happened to be downtown tonight. That's why I wasn't able to join in earlier. So I stopped by Bucha's Burgers here in Columbia, and I taste tested it, and it's exactly the same.
See, they were using Hostess hamburger buns.
Yeah.
Tell us why this burger's so good. Now, here we have on the West Coast, Michael Ellis, I guess you're familiar with, is it In-N-Out Burger, right? That's the...
Yeah.
And we have Five Guys over here.
Right.
And actually, a friend of mine, Mark Mosley, who's a former Redskins kicker, is the national franchise guy. And I remember when I was interviewing him on the radio, and he was telling me about Five Guys, and they were like 6 restaurants then. And he said they're going to start this national thing, and now they've exploded. And now it's kind of neck and neck between Five Guys and In-N-Out. Have you had both, Michael?
I have, yeah.
Tell me which is here. Here we go. Don't be the home team guy. Be honest here. What do you think? How do you compare them?
Well, the first, part of it is not the food because it's all kind of not great food, I'll say.
It's all fresh hamburger, It's not rocket science, right? I mean,
and it's also not all that fresh, but whatever. But the difference for me between the two was really a lot more about the service, and In-N-Out Burger was a better experience overall.
What about the flavor, the taste, the grease running down your
What
arm? You got to
service
take a
at
shower
Five
when you're done
Guys?
Well, that was my point, Anthony.
But what were the flavor? I mean, the actual food was equivalent? I mean, they're both good burgers.
They were roughly the same. I didn't notice any distinct difference between the two.
What about price? Because I know Five Guys. I mean, like if you get burger, fries, and a Coke, you're talking $10. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's not the value meal.
I think Five Guys is pretty expensive. I don't remember what In-N-Out was.
Because you're rich and you don't care about things like
no, because I don't eat out.
Because you're afraid to leave your house because you're a Republican living in San Francisco.
I don't even leave the house. Exactly.
I'll tell you what. Like anyone that thinks that Five Guys is, you know, a good hamburger, and I've never had In-N-Outs, but probably the same applies. Come to Rochester and have a real hamburger at like one of like 10 different restaurants that all kick the out of Five Guys.
You gotta try Five Guys. It's good burgers. So anyway,
we have like 4 or 5 Guys, you know, in and around Rochester, and
there is a distinct.
You know, go to Bill Gray's. There's no comparison.
A burger that can be made in a single restaurant that can genuinely be made fresh, and one that is made so that for mass distribution across a network of restaurants around the country, and it has to be identical everywhere. That's a different problem than what you're talking about, Anthony.
Well, I mean, you know, we're not, you know, like Bill Gray's are not huge, but they all, you know, all over Rochester. So
that's only one city, though.
What's really disgusting is now I'm thinking about
all the stores.
What's awful is I'm thinking about that giant picture that Sarik had of that cow, and I'm getting hungry thinking about. Kyle, you actually we were on you, so I apologize. I totally ripped off your final moments here. But so have you had Five Guys and or In-N-Out Burger?
We have Five Guys. It's fairly popular around this area as well. I haven't had In-N-Out Burger.
How does Five Guys compare?
Well, of course, it's not quite as good, but Booch's is one store. I mean, that's all they do. They cook all their burgers. I'd say it's about an 18-inch by 18-inch flat top. They're greasy and they're smaller. They're only about, if this is I'd say about half the circumference of a Five Guys burger. So they're pretty small, but they're cheesy and greasy and fantastic.
Yeah, it's a quarter-pound patty with a pretty small bun, so the beef just
and everything just falls apart, and you have to serve it in a big brown bag, otherwise it will be all over the street, and it's awesome. I like Five Guys as well. So.
We have this comment from George Cozy. The best burger I ever had was at Chez George.
Indeed.
George has that right.
And,
awesome.
And we have this warning from Kevin. Aren't you running out of time?
We're darn close. That's why we got to... Okay. All right, Kyle, are you good or any final... All right.
Anthony.
Nope, nothing.
Anthony Klauser, tell us what's going on in Rochester, New York, other than the demise of your largest employer.
Hey, that largest employer... Yeah, largest employer. That's a joke.
There's like 6 or 7 people left at Kodak, right?
The University of Rochester and Wegmans and, you know, only those guys. No, Kodak's going to exit bankruptcy, and they're probably going to come out leaner, meaner, and stronger and more efficient.
Yeah.
And, if you haven't read Anthony's post on this, he's made some very insightful comments about the future of Kodak, and I pointed out to him, Youngatan has made a post about this as well, and Anthony has promised me he's going to expound.
Now that there's probably like 15 or 30 new comments in there, and, you know,
I don't know. I haven't seen any new notifications.
I never got a response from you, Anthony, on my post talking about Eastman Chemical, which was spun off from Eastman Kodak. Yeah. I think it was founded like 1930 or something. Yeah. It's dramatically successful. It is as successful as Kodak is not.
Yep.
And I wonder if, I don't know the background, why they spun it off, if they had to, or the investors were, you know, complaining or whatever. But if they had not made that decision, they'd be in a very different situation. Eastman Chemical literally profits what Eastman Kodak loses. So they would be like break even or better if they had held on to that division.
No, I mean, the problem is Kodak held on to a segment of
but to die out to an industry that you invented, they invented the digital camera.
Yeah, and that's the problem, that, you know, they're like, hey, film is, you know, such a huge profit margin, and why should we go to these stupid digital cameras that are going to, they just made the wrong decision, and it was a sound, strong business decision at the time. It made sense, but if they had 2020, they would have gone to digital. But at the time, the business, the sound business decision was to stay with film, and it was the wrong decision, but it made sense back then.
Yeah, it's a tale of two cities, two brothers. One's gone on to incredible success. The other one is all patents and no products.
But really, Kodak just needs to get out of the consumer game for the most part. And,
not until my printers die, because I still want these ink cartridges.
But something that I found interesting, and really because I just don't pay that much attention to specifics, but apparently, disposable cameras that no one in the United States would probably buy anymore unless, they're going on vacation and want to get like an underwater camera that they'll never use again. But apparently disposable cameras are still a huge business for Kodak. So, outside of the United States, especially in, developing countries.
They're useful in, obviously diminishingly so, dramatically less so, but for like weddings or 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh, right. And when I went to a wedding in this summer, whenever that was, I don't know who made the cameras, but there was a disposable camera on every single
yeah,
table,
because then
and
the
then
bride
you gave
and
them
groom
back
get
to the
have
bride,
it.
There's definitely places where these disposable cameras make a ton of sense, and there's probably I know there's a huge market for them in certain areas.
Future topic, crazy story. As we go to Anthony, thanks. I'm gonna go to Alan for any final comments he has, and also any comments from the viewers he wants to highlight. But future topic, let me give you a crazy scenario since we talked about copyright stuff. What if you were at a wedding and there's a disposable camera provided by the bride and groom on the table? Britney Spears is at the wedding, okay? You pick up the camera and you're snapping a picture of Britney Spears for any number of reasons, and someone puts a pie in her face right as you're snapping the picture. Who owns the copyright? It's not work for hire. You are a guest. You took the picture, right?
The bride and groom.
The bride and groom own the camera.
I would say the bride and groom.
But that's a question, though, isn't it? It's a legitimate question.
We don't have enough time to debate this subject tonight.
Who would own the copyright?
I don't have an answer, and we don't have enough time to debate the subject tonight.
All right, I have no idea how long we're like down to a few minutes.
Alan's about to get cut off.
The person who took the photo owns the picture.
We probably have
3 minutes. We have a disagreement already. That's a good question, though, isn't it? That's a crazy scenario, but
put it on the topics list. Let's cover it.
I think it's arguable that it might be work for hire. Anyway,
I had a lawyer call me today asking me for a favor or two favors, so maybe I'll ask him. And
okay, some quick comments.
Alan, close the show for us.
Here's Kevin's opinion on what they're going to do with the Hangout on Air button. They're going to make it bigger and more attractive, so more people will press it and it not work. George Cozy, in the final minutes, he suggests that we should rename the show the Dan McDermott Telethon.
They only cut us off because they can.
And finally, from Carlos, In-N-Out is less expensive than Five Guys. I like them both. I believe Five Guys have bigger burgers.
Size matters in burgers.
And but finally, I'm going to close it with this one that we got someone in the middle. It would be really nice if this show was live.
You're right, Joel. Joel Bowman, you're right.
And with that, Dan, I understand you've got a Hangout on Air that you're cooking up for tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow we will be, hopefully, Alan, you'll be joining me. We'll be speaking with Ahmed
from Egypt.
Ahmed Kaka from Alexandria, Egypt. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how, I don't know what the speed limits are in Egypt. If they have speed limits, to talk about the controversy with President Morsi. Is that how you pronounce it?
Morsi.
And the new pharaoh of Egypt, apparently. And what I talked to him about, I said, listen, is this it's being characterized one way, and is it just a straight up, Gaddafi in the making power grab, or because most of the judiciary was appointed by his predecessor, the Mubarak regime, or is it like they're stomping on him trying to instill democracy? And his initial thoughts were, it's mixed, it's in between, it's not that simple. So it'll be interesting to actually talk to someone live in Egypt. We'll be taking your comments and questions as we go. So we're looking forward to it. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern time, which would be 10 a.m. Pacific, right?
Yes.
1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, Saturday, December 1st, or today now, on our time zone. And I'm looking forward to that. He's a good guy. He's an honest broker, and he's just, I told him, he was kind of nervous. I said, listen, just, it'll just give us your personal perspective. So that's tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, live from Egypt. And look for it on my stream. Dan McDermott, it's my name. Google Plus is my name. And this show is? Google Plus Week. We are live every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, either midnight or 1 a.m. GMT, for you Brits, you GMT people. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. It's awesome. We so appreciate your live comments and your questions. So check us out every week, Friday night, and I want to wish all of you a wonderful and epic Google Plus week.